Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Just talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt, man!
All right, episode 110 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Jarrod from Rockford Art Deli in Illinois. Let's go!
Hey, can you see me?
Yeah, you're super small.
I'm super small. Like a tiny person.
Oh, well, look at that.
Hey,
How's it going, man?
good. I just got back from the lake. Like minutes ago. So, how was yesterday, bud? Oh, look at them bad boys. Oh, look at them. Fancy. Is it like walking on a
You
cloud?
you can't really tell, but they're green.
Yeah, they
They
don't
look
look
kind
green
of
on
black,
camera.
don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you got me a present. You got me some Vans.
Yeah, I got you some fucking sick shoes, bro. I wanted you to be comfy while you're walking around the shop being a fucking boss babe.
Thank you, man. Yeah, they are comfortable, and you can actually hike in these things too, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know.
So
I do.
you're the best.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you're the best.
So my birthday though was interesting. Joanne got COVID on Friday,
Perfect.
and so we ended up on my birthday was Saturday. I made stir fry. Hey,
Ooh. I'm looking at you.
you ready? You ready for the story?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You let me know.
Stir fry? She made stir fry?
Okay. What's down? What were you looking at down there?
My penis.
Oh.
Next. You
Yeah,
asked.
and so we just chilled at home. I made stir fry, and we watched Stranger Things. So
Did you finish it?
yeah. Do you know
Fuck yeah.
the episode, whatever it is, the last episode's 2.5 hours?
Mm-hmm.
You probably know that, right?
Well, the last two episodes. They're like an hour and a half or whatever they are.
No.
The last two that came out recently, aren't they like an hour and a half?
Yep. What do you mean? Like each of them are an hour and a half, or
Yes.
combined?
Each.
Well, I just said, did you know the last episode was 2.5 hours? And then you just said each of them were like an hour and a half, because that just...
I don't believe you.
So the last episode was 2.5 hours.
Okay. I'm going to trust
All right,
you, but I don't agree.
You're annoying me. You're annoying me. We need to move on.
Cool. This is going to be good.
We're off to just a great start. How was your weekend, Dylan?
Oh, my weekend's been wonderful. I don't remember what I did yesterday at all for some reason.
Well, it was my birthday, so...
It was your birthday. That's why it was a blur for me, because I think all my brain power was thinking about you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I remember what happened yesterday. So Friday night, I came here and played Gears with Chris and Brian. And then Saturday, I got up, went for a walk, came back, mowed the lawn at the shop, went home, did laundry and emails. And then I took my daughter and a bunch of her friends to the mall, which was terrifying. Because her birthday's this week, and that's what she wanted to do for her party. So I took them to the mall. We did a bunch of fun activities. I got them all a Build-A-Bear. And
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And then came home. I got home like 10:30. I was exhausted. And then this morning I went for a walk again, and then came home, grabbed the kids, and we went to the one of the Finger Lakes and swam until like literally half hour ago.
You swam in the lake?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that there is a brain-eating bacteria in lakes?
Cool. That must be my problem.
No, the weirdest thing, I was just watching reading. I was just reading.
Did it happen to you? Did you go on a lake recently?
Yeah. Everything's fucked up right now because I have these new headphones on that Joanne got me for my birthday. Check them.
Oh, cool. Wow. Are they just new earbuds?
And they're pros, yeah. And you know how they cancel noise? They're noise canceling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I can't hear myself even fucking talk. It sounds like, you know, when last week I was all stopped up.
Mm-hmm. That's what it sounds like to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's cool.
I don't know. It's a mess today. I will tell you this though. It's been just hot as shit. Although today was better. But the other day I had. Man, I gotta move there. Are there any industrial buildings right next to yours where I could put my shop?
Yeah, right across the street. We could fucking team up, bro.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll come up there. I think I might be coming up there soon, and we'll get a lease going. Cool.
Right. Yeah.
But so it's really, really hot. I open up the garage, to let, how when the sun's setting after it sets, this probably doesn't happen to you. But if you live where it's really, really warm, your garage gets to be 100 and whatever. And if you, later at night, you just open it up, let all that hot air out. Right. Well, I did that, and then I forgot that I opened it, and we're watching Stranger Things, and all of a sudden I was like, oh fuck, I don't think I closed the garage door. So I got up and I opened the door, and I was like ready for there to be just, us being robbed. And then I flicked on the light, and I saw this massive, I kid you not, spider, the biggest spider I've ever seen in my life, like as big as a dog, like this kind of big spider. And it goes,
oh, wow.
And it went under my car. And guess what I did? Took the blower
and just blew it
him
out.
Fucked him up. But then I Googled it, and you know what it was? Do you have these up there? It was a wolf spider.
Mm-hmm.
You do have those?
I think so, yeah.
You want to know what it looks like?
Oh, yeah, show me. I hope it's just a picture of you. It's a picture of a big spider tattoo on your back.
Yeah, forget it. Yeah, that's too good. That's what I was going to show you.
I figured. This is your segue into showing me your sweet tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a wolf. At first, every spider I see, I'm like, brown recluse. Everybody always says that around here.
It's going to bite me and kill me.
Yeah, bite me and kill me. But I looked up because I couldn't remember what they looked like exactly. It looked nothing even close, like nothing close to a brown recluse. It was a wolf.
Yeah, we went last weekend. Me, Chris, and Brian went hiking at Shenango Valley, and I was like the leader. And it was like early in the morning, and I probably took out 1,000 cobwebs, like full on,
like right in your face,
like right in my face the entire time. Like they're so dense that when you walk through them, you hear them like cracking and pulling. Yeah, the entire time they were like all baby spiders all over my face. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that happens to me all the time on walks. And the craziest thing is it happens and I go like this and everything, and I never can get the web in my hand. Like I never can really get it off. Mm-hmm. And there's never been any spiders either that I know of.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're just ingesting them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, what else, man?
I don't know. How was your week work-wise?
Short week. And
is it dead as fuck there?
Fuck, I thought it was going to be, but no. Yeah, I thought for sure
dead
it was.
Dead as a doornail here.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh at that. That's actually... Dude, hold on. Let me have a better reaction. Oh, fuck, dude. Really?
Cool. Thanks for editing that for me.
I'm supposed to be have some compassion and stuff, not laugh.
Give it back to me. I appreciate it. Oh God, yeah, it's great. It's so good. We actually I don't know. I can't complain too much because we have some really big orders in the works. It's just like actual jobs on the schedule for them to do is low, and it's not. It's not even like crazy. Like it's slow, but the problem is, I don't know. The problem is that they're just too fast at fucking getting jobs done.
That's not the only problem.
Like
I
they're a
don't think. I
well-oiled
think that's
machine.
Sort of what we said before. I think it. Have you been getting messages from other shops like, "Hey, dude, are you slow?"
A couple. I mean, the ones
Mm-hmm.
I've asked to are like, yeah, dude, it's weird right now.
I think it was I think that the 4th of July fell on a Monday. I think a lot of people, took the rest of the week off. And so there's that. I also think that you are more efficient now. You have all these, processes in and they're working. And so that's a really good sign. And then also there's maybe a hint of a recession on the horizon. What are you looking at?
My laptop.
Right. Eyes up here.
Okay,
Eyes up here.
there, right there. Ooh. Yes. Frank. That felt good. That was a spicy one. It all starts with a screen.
Okay. Yeah. And next, you're doing good.
If it's
And-
restretches or new stretches,
Frank
Frank
and
and
his
his team do it the best.
Perfect.
Am I right so far?
Yep. To find out
Fuck
more,
yeah.
go to
graphicscreenfashion.com, FFFFFrank.com, or
greatfuckingscreens.com.
hell yeah,
Hell yeah, brother.
Action Engineering.
Nope. They're not next.
Fuck. Cleaning screens is no fun, but Easy Way makes it funner. Right? Am I doing good?
You're doing great.
Hold on. I gotta remember the next part.
Do you want a hint?
Easy Ways chemicals can not only clean your screens but keep your shop clean as well.
Basically.
So- Okay. All right, good. Easy Way. Did I skip a part?
Yeah, so check them out at easyway.com.
Oh, okay. All right,
Easy
yeah.
Way.
It's the easiest way.
There, see that you're doing great. Although you're not going to know the next one because they changed the code because the code wasn't working anymore. So we have a new code.
Okay, you do it.
Okay. Action Engineering makes all kinds of accessories printers need. Go to actionengineering.com to have a look. And when you go to check out, use code SS07. Yeah, that's right. SS07.
They should have made it 007. Isn't that cool?
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
And you get yourself 10% off.
Mm-hmm.
You want to try, take a shot at the next one?
Was it Monarch?
It is.
Monarch inks do what they're supposed to do.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. With their high opaque mixing systems. I don't remember the next part. With their high
good.
opacity mixing systems,
Mm-hmm.
it's the best ink there is. Just go buy it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so look, ink better,
That's all you
print
need.
better, be better.
Be better. Live Moss.
Monarch.
You're
You're doing great, Dylan. Really.
Thanks,
Seriously,
man.
this
I am not good at memory, so I am really proud of myself that I'm getting some of these.
Hey, is it becoming more and more difficult to create all of the art and run your shop at the same time? Or do you need help with complicated steps? Or do you just need someone to talk to?
I don't know, do you?
Well, then you need to go to 1-900-HOTStuff.com and all of those problems will be solved.
Mm-hmm.
And what company is that for, Dylan?
Graphic Source.
That's right.
Our good buddies Lucas and
Mm-hmm.
Nick Wood.
Okay, so now it is time for just the tip.
For Chromaline,
Mm-hmm.
our tip of the week from Chromaline is your screen room's environment really factors into how successful you can be with any sort of repeatability. Always work under yellow UV safe light conditions, as well as targeting your humidity between 30 and 40% and temperature between 60 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. 16 to 27 degrees Celsius for our Canadian friends.
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Have a well lit dark room. It doesn't actually have to be a dark room, is what I would say.
It has to be a non-UV room.
Yes.
So I think you did the same thing as we did, is we bought those amber sleeves from on Amazon.com.
4-foot T8s.
You can just slide them over your fluorescence and boom, no UV.
Boom, done. Beautiful and bright.
Do that because you got to be able to see in there.
Yeah. Also, your humidity, 30 to 40 was nice when we didn't have an eye image. But once we got an eye image, we had to actually bump that up to 55.
Really?
Yeah, for the eye image to be able to print. It doesn't like it too dry.
When we had our eye image, we had a range, and I would say it still worked at 30. You're right, though. I would say probably slightly higher. I think it worked best around 40. 55 seems high, though. But yeah, I think you're right. It works better. So you could adjust, if you have an eye image, you could adjust that number from probably 30 to 50.
Right. We still
I would
keep our
agree.
heat about 75, 80.
Let's say 30 to 55 because you said 55. Yours is at 55?
Yeah.
Okay, 30 to
55 stay
55.
alive.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Hey, Andy, bud, who we have on today?
Our guest today is Jarrod Hennis from Rockford Art Deli.
Great man.
He is. And do you know that he is in Rockford, Illinois? And do you know that Rockford
do.
is a little bit further than we thought from Chicago?
Yeah, like an hour. Roughly.
That's right. We drove down there. And
In the middle of the night.
It felt like in the middle of the night.
It was. It was like 10:30.
Just to say hi. And I'm so glad
What
we
were we
did.
doing? We were in Chicago, and we saw a sign for Rockford, like a highway sign for Rockford. And we texted Jarrod and said, "Hey, we're in Chicago. We'd love to come by sometime." And he was like, "Yeah, sounds great." And we were like, "How about right now?"
And he said, yeah,
He
I'm
said,
down.
"Hell yeah, bud. Come on down."
Oh, you know what? So besides being a rad dude and having a rad shop, he recently added an auto. When we were there, he was talking about it. You know, he doesn't have a whole lot of space for that. Like his shop is a lot like, I think like in terms of Becker Supply, it's sort of similar in that he's in an area that there's a lot of foot traffic, and he has, lots of shirts, sort of like about Rockford, I think, and other
He's a
stuff too.
storefront.
Yeah, he's a storefront, and he has this really neat overhead door he can open, and it opens up right to the sidewalk. But while we were there, he's like, I've got this work, and I can't. It's hard to keep up with this, just this manual, or maybe he had two manuals. I think that's what it was, and he needed an auto, and we were trying to figure out how to, like, where to squeeze one in.
That's what she
But
said.
I guess he figured it out. Maybe he'll tell us about it.
Maybe. If you let him in.
What'd you just pick out of your mouth?
I don't know. Something weird. Probably that fucking, like, brain eater bug.
I wasn't fucking kidding. I just read this article and it happened in
I believe
Iowa.
you.
Somebody from Missouri was swimming in a lake in Iowa, and then they started feeling bad, and they said that you have a brain-eating amoeba. Got it from the lake.
Not surprised.
So
If it's from
Watch out.
Missouri, yeah, it makes sense.
watch out for that. You ready?
Cool. Yeah.
Whoa.
There he
Whoa.
is.
Whoa. Whoa.
Hey.
Hey, guys.
bud.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
I like your shirt.
Well, I got it from this cool print shop.
Yeah, it looks nice and soft, comfy.
It's pretty soft.
Look at that
I mean,
white-
my pecs are pretty hard,
Oh, don't get me started.
but got to get them rise and grind gang pecs in motion.
We were trying to get swole.
No, because I don't want to have to get a new shirt size. So
That's true.
My mediums are pretty tight, and I'm a large would be a little baggy.
I would like to see you gym style, like cut it into like a tank top where basically the openings go all the way to the bottom of the shirt, so it's just like a flap on the front and a flap on the back.
Okay. I think I don't know if I could pull that off yet.
Oh, okay.
I can try though. I don't know if I want to do it with this shirt. I really like this shirt.
Yeah, don't do it with that one. Do it with a shirt Kong shirt.
Well, I don't have any shirt Kong shirts.
That's true. Me either.
Do you even have any Kong shirts?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't even know if we have a shirt Kong shirt. The last one we printed was not this year, so there might be some.
Dude,
that's terrible.
you're behind the ball, man.
No, it's terrible.
You should have at least a dozen.
I might order some from Dylan. Maybe he could make it
I
happen.
can print you some shirt Kong shirts if you want. I'm just going to put a disclaimer that it said it wasn't printed at your shop.
How you guys doing?
Good. I'm great. How are you?
I'm so good.
Did you go on
I,
a little walk picnic today?
That was the picnic was yesterday. I forgot to post it though. So the joys of Instagram is I can make my today look really cool.
Right.
But it was not as cool. I did go on a hike though, and I did do an ice bath. Mm-hmm. So I've got those going on for me today.
So do you have you seem to have a really nice area near you, like for trails and stuff?
Yeah, we have 44 forest preserves in the Rockford area, and those are pretty great. So yeah, I go out every day, at least do a mile hike every morning, and then it kind of depends on the day.
Yeah.
Summertime's obviously easier to get out. I don't think I have the epic trails like you do. What are you on, like 10-mile trips every day?
I've been trying to do 10 miles a day at least.
Jeez, do you even work?
No.
Oh.
We were just talking about that. I don't work. My thing is I get up at whatever, like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I'll walk until about like 8:30, and then when I get to the shop, I'm still the first one here. So they don't get here till 9, and then at lunchtime we take an hour lunch. So if I want, I'll go for another hour walk, and then usually at night once it cools down, I'm like, hey, I'll go for a walk again. So I'm doing like 3.5-ish mile walks a day.
Oh, that's not bad.
And then just your regular walking throughout the day.
And then Andy, how many miles do you hike a day or walk?
I really don't know miles, but I do walk quite a bit. I walked this morning with my mom.
Oh, okay.
You do a lot of walking
It's
around
good
the
for the
shop,
soul.
though.
I guess not as lately. It doesn't seem like as much, but we walked. She lives in a neighborhood that I used to live in for probably 10 years, and so I drove down to her neighborhood and we walked that neighborhood, and it has some nice parks. Actually, has a park where JoJo and I got married, and so we walked through there. And
so beautiful. Just reminds you of your love every time.
Every time, yeah. It's like
hell yeah.
It's very
Did you cry
meaningful.
a little? Did you cry?
Yeah,
Just a little tear, maybe.
Just a little
okay.
tear.
You can have just one tear.
Yeah. I've loved it though. Like the walking thing has been awesome for me. Like I feel like I do a lot of it, but it's just been so good for like mental health. And also like before I was walking, I wasn't really moving a ton, and like I had a lot of like sciatica pain and lower back pain. Ever since I've been walking, it's gone. Like I have like no back pain.
What about your sleep apnea?
I still have that, but that's also because I'm a big dude. So like I'm hoping that once I lose weight, I won't need it as much. I've lost 20 pounds so far.
Whoa. Just from walking?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like try
you-
not to eat like an asshole either, so.
Well, but that's not fun.
But I'm not like dieting. I'm not like eating just like chicken and rice. Like I'm eating normal ass meals. I just like don't drink
just not
soda
extra.
and I don't eat extra, and I just do a lot of walking.
Yeah. No, walking is where it's at. How did you guys' staff go out and walk or hike or anything?
Chris and Brian went with me on a hike last weekend, but that was more just like asking friends if they wanted to go for a hike. But I just go by myself because that's half the battle.
I've been trying to figure out how to integrate it into our ethos here. You know, for like 15 minutes, like at least go walk 2 blocks or just to get outside. It hasn't been amazing yet to adapt because I think most everyone wants just to sit down, and our AC's been out for 2 months. So, and you know, because our shop's like our retail and production's in one space, so it's like 2,500 square feet. So the AC's been out in the whole area.
Nice.
for about 2 months. So it's been about 100 degrees in the retail and production, which is not far off from a normal print shop. But yeah, so
But
they
for
would rather
retail.
come upstairs and sit in the AC. Yeah, the retail, which is surprising, our sales are up on retail and it's hot.
Why can't you get it fixed?
Well, so since I rent, my landlord is interesting, and he got it fixed in October, but we didn't really know if it got fixed because we didn't really need AC in October. So we've just been jamming it, and I was like, oh, maybe it's just hotter this year. And it was because it was running, like stuff was blowing out of the vents, but the compressor wasn't working. So he's been trying to get a hold of the HVAC guy that fixed it for warranty, and the guy just he said he showed up and tested it all, and it works fine, but it's on the roof, and he hasn't been here. So yeah, so we've just been rolling dirty with no AC.
That's
Perfect.
it's a huge topic for a lot of shops, like this time of year, especially this time. If I don't know why, but I'm just looking at the St. Louis weather. It's in the high 90s, mid to high 90s, nearly every day. It's like relentless. And how are people, coping with it that work there? Are you just changing your shift, or like, what are you doing?
They've actually been pretty okay with it. We are running a little bit shorter shifts, because production's 10 to 6, Monday through Friday, and then retail's Tuesday through Sunday. So they run a little different, but we try to shut the dryers off a little early for retail, at least for Fridays and then Saturdays there's no production. But really everyone's just been troopers. They've just been buying them cold drinks and taking breaks. We got a lot of fans. We have a lot of air movement.
Air movement's where it's at,
yeah. Air movement not facing the dryer, so we don't mess that cure up. But I don't know, it's hot. They take breaks. Everyone's been pretty cool with not cool, but cool
everyone's been pretty not cool, but
yeah, they've been not cool with the coolness. And that's the tricky thing of renting is like I could just fix it, but I'm not gonna put a new air conditioning unit on my landlord's building. So that's been a little dicey. So we've been actually in the works of trying to buy a new building. That's been for the last year and a half, and so we're closer to a building now. So we're in the kind of a letter of intent out on it and in the bidding process right now for construction.
Is that the same one that you showed us a little while ago? It was like a more warehousey? Or is it something
This
different?
one, yeah. Well, I've looked at like 3. This one's more of like, I don't know if I posted this one in the group. This one's pretty much straight up like an old garage. It was like a car dealership garage. It's like 20,000 square feet. The city owns it right now, so trying to buy it from them.
Right.
And then have them, they actually rent space in it, so then they would be a renter also. So that would help, cover majority of the mortgage, most likely.
That's cool.
But it's a huge space. I mean, it's just a 10,000 square foot production area and like a 5,000 square foot retail space.
Would you still get the same amount of retail?
We would grow the retail and grow the production, and then have room for like kind of to grow in the next 5 years.
Right.
So that would be, and then we're trying to think of maybe putting a coffee shop in there too with us and have like a liquor license and do kind of back to our OG of having music and art gallery kind of space again.
Pretty sweet.
In the retail. And then the production, I mean, we don't need that much space now, but now I'm kind of trying to grow things out a little bit past just our own retail and get kind of our custom stuff going a little higher volume again.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's been fun, but it's a challenge. Building costs are insane, but not comparatively probably to New York. So it's not too bad here. I mean, a 20,000 square foot building, about 650,000.
Yeah.
Give or take.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's related to your guys' areas.
Well, for me, I'm in the boonies, so probably pretty similar.
Yeah. But yeah.
So do you think that's going to go through, or is it something where you're still kind of like, I'm unsure of?
I think it's going to go through. The kicker right now is if I can get the city to sign a 5-year lease with us. And then that'll definitely help offset a lot of the cost, because our rent's cheap right now. Like, I've been in this building for almost 18 years, so we probably pay like $5 a square foot, and market value downtown's probably like 10 to 18. So I've been kind of riding that wave for as long as I can, and
Yeah.
I knew wherever I go or whatever I do, if I lease more space, it's going to be double at least. But yeah, so I don't know. I think it looks pretty good. Got some people coming in Monday to measure things out to get an accurate bid on the remodel. But the nice thing is it already has power, electric. It's clean. It's just a garage space, so we have to run plumbing and HVAC, and I think it's a 400 amp 3-phase and 200 amp single phase in it already. So that'll easily cover what we have now and then a little bit of growth.
Right.
Depending on, if we add another auto or whatever we might do with that. But we definitely need to get a bigger dryer. That's the first ticket item that we have to get right away.
Mm-hmm.
Our little AO-less dryer is horrible.
You're really selling me on it.
Yeah, it's no, it's not. It's probably a great dryer for like DTG, but water base, it's not cutting the not doing it for us.
Is it just because it's not big enough, or it doesn't move enough
It's
air
got
around?
well run right now. The breaker keeps popping for the exhaust, so the two squirrel fans that actually pull and exhaust out keep popping, and it's a brand new dryer, so it back vents into the shop, so then the whole shop fills with smoke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's been a challenge. So we haven't had time to get that, and it's not super insulated. So just a temp on the dryer is like 150 degrees.
You mean
Just
the
on
surface
outside of
temp?
the dryer. Yeah, surface temp.
Well, that's hot.
And yeah, and
Like you
I
could
feel
burn
like it should be a
yourself or
little,
something, right?
Yeah, it's pretty. Maybe it's not quite 150.
It's
but
perfect
it's over
when it's
100.
100 degrees in the shop because your AC doesn't work.
Right. So we're like, oh, and this dryer is new for this summer, so that's why I was like, oh, maybe it's just the new dryer is making the space hotter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that was, I don't know. It's always interesting seeing specs of some of these companies on their dryers of like, it can handle 600 shirts an hour or whatever.
It's always super
I think we were
inflated.
maxing. Yeah, and like we're maxing it at about 400 an hour with the auto, and that's still using warp drive for the water base because it's not fully curing once through.
Right.
Unless we have it crawling, and I'm just like, how do these guys get these stats? Like, how do they actually figure out how many shirts can go through in an hour fully cured?
It's what sounds good on
'cause-
paper.
I guess, but I mean, it's Plasol is what usually like it says they can do like 1,000 an hour or some shit like that. But yeah, so that dryer is a nice little segue, but definitely shopping around for a big gas dryer.
Mhm.
And I think M&R is probably the ticket that we'll be getting on that.
Yeah, you got to get to 3,000.
From all the feedback I've been getting from everyone, it sounds like that's the go-to.
Yeah, I mean, we like M&R obviously, but it's like one of those things is I feel like their dryers hands down have always been like the ticket. Like I've seen so many like big rock shops that have all
Mhm.
M&R dryers. So it's like obviously it's working really
And that's as I've been traveling and checking out shops, it's usually rocks and then M&R dryers.
Yeah.
That's like almost every single shop I've been in has rock autos and
A Sprint 3000.
The M&R, yeah, just a Sprint, or like a super old, like a really really old one,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, yeah, it just never breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Versus I think some other brands break often, or you have to have a tech or someone in house that can fix it all the time.
Yeah, it was like our old Sprint.
Uh,
Most of the parts I could get on it, I could get at like Granger or at a hardware store. So like when
right,
shit
yeah.
broke, it
and
was
then
like,
M&R's super close to us.
Yeah.
Like the Chicago, branch is so close that we could just drive in. And I don't know if they carry parts there.
yeah, they have a parts warehouse right there.
I haven't been in a while,
Mm.
and I don't even know. We've been trying to work on the new layout and all that fun stuff, and kind of like as the cool thing is like we have this huge empty space, so I'm trying to plan it out for the next 5 years of being like, okay, if I'm gonna add an auto coder, an auto reclaim, like I want it built out big enough for it, but not have it in, just at least have it roughed in, so I'm not tearing down walls later or moving stuff or need to run electric or air. It's just all ready to go because it's easy to do when it's empty, than to try to add it all in later.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a stressful to try to plan like the next 5 years of like my shop growth.
I remember when we visited you that was, you were sort of on the fence. Like, I think you were more on the side of get a new space and expand than not. But, your shop had when we were there, we were like, man, this shop is so cool, and it has this charm about it. And you have the people that are walking, down the sidewalk, and they can see, they come in for the retail side of things, and they see that you're printing right there. And so, like all of these things that you were just talking about, like a bigger dryer and auto coder on those things, you need more space for. But then you give up the charm of that thing that you have going on. And so that's a tough decision. And it sounds like anyway that you're ready to expand. And I guess your thinking is it's like maybe everything production wise will just be so much easier than what you're trying to, like, how to do it now,
That has been a huge thought, lately, because that was the whole vision, right? Is the experience. You're walking on the sidewalk, you see a press moving. You're in the store shopping, you see, the press moving, and that's been the experience of the whole growth of Rad, and then free print days and all that. So this new space, if it works out, we'll still have the visual. Like there'll be 2 glass garage doors, so you can actually see into the production area, and then we can open them up for events. But I do miss the charm, but I think it's also there's so many difficulties with running the shop how I have it, especially as we've grown. So like, the first 8 years of our small retail space and small custom production was great. It was like, oh, we got all this room, you can walk around, we have an art gallery, and then like every year it keeps getting more full. And then now it's just like boxes and tables and shirts and an auto, and now people can't walk around anymore. They can look over the fixtures and see the press, but they can't technically walk around and get as close as they used to. So I think as that growth happens, and really I wanted to grow retail out. I wanted retail to keep getting bigger and bigger, and it was going that way until 2019, and then when all the craziness happened, now we're retail slower but customs heavier. So now it's kind of like, do we just ride that wave, or do we wait till retail picks back up again? So I'm trying to just be conscious of that, but also, what I need to focus on is keeping money coming in here. So right now it's been focusing on growing custom sales and getting contract work if that's the route we're going to go. And then kind of let the retail simmer for a while and kind of get the steam again. But it's been, it's and a lot of it's I think the health of our downtown. So, a lot of businesses closed, a lot of people changed hours, low staffing. So our foot traffic is definitely changed since then. So our sales are down, walk-in traffic. And so we've been trying to figure out like what that is. And so it's picking back up, but it's still, people are scared about spending money on things that don't do them a lot of, value, like buying a custom t-shirt, cool Rockford t-shirt isn't maybe as valuable as keeping money in the bank.
Groceries.
Until, groceries or gas or,
Right.
like more important things. So we're trying to cater to that. And so it's been a challenge, but I mean, retail in general is, I see a lot of these print shops that are trying to do retail, and I hear pros and cons, and some do well and some don't, but retail's hard. Like retail is a super hard beast to handle, because you're forecasting so many different things, and then you're forecasting trends, where normally we can just be like, hey, cool, a brewery comes to us and orders 1,000 shirts, and we print those. We don't have to figure out the trends. They come to us and they say, I want 1,000 shirts, and we print them and take their money. But I have to think about the new design and the new colorway and the new fit and what's going to sell that summer for, to make up those 1,000 shirts.
Right.
And that's been crazy.
How do you,
we sell.
How do you not get burnt out on that? You know what I mean? Like, how do you continuously all these years make new Rockford stuff that is
that
you know
is
what I mean?
That's a good question. Yeah. So we're at year 12. I would say there's a burnout happening for sure. Some of it's because we don't have like an internal creative director. Like that's me. But I'm the one then finding the designers, like we share a lot of designers, from Instagram, and we find these guys that do cool stuff. And that's like my design team, but it's just really picking and piecing. I don't really have like a full line ever. It's just like, oh, I want outdoor design. I want a cityscape design. I want a mascot design. And then you're like, well, hopefully it sells.
Right.
It's pretty much all my gut feeling of like, do I think this is going to sell this year from what I see on Instagram or I see in a magazine or on a movie or whatever. So I think the burnout is is hard for me this year, last couple of years, and I would say it's even worse for like free print days because those have dwindled. I mean, we used to do 2 to 3,000 free prints on a day, and now we're doing like if we do 600, it's like crazy. It's like, is it the design? Is it just people don't want to be around people anymore? Is it the combo? But yeah, it's definitely.
Do you think
getting
it's like
challenging.
the novelty of it? You know what I mean? Like
I
the
think,
people that
yeah,
live
I think
there
some
have
of
been
that. I
there
mean,
before and they've shopped. Like how many times do they come back? You know what I mean?
for sure, and with honestly with the free print days, it's a lot of the same people. They do come back for everyone and get all the free ones, and because I mean it's a free shirt. Like
Right.
you just bring in a blank T-shirt, and we print it for
Yeah,
free.
tell us about that program,
Uh,
the free print day. Because I don't.
yeah, so yeah, we started that on Halloween, 12 years ago, and I had this genius idea to say, hey, let's just, Plasticel ink's so cheap. Let's just come up with a cool theme design for the holiday. People bring in a blank T-shirt, and we print it for free. And it's cool marketing, and it's affordable. Anyone can afford it.
You print it or they
So we
print
started
it?
that off. We print it.
Okay.
So we have like a whole check-in system. Like if it's slow, I'll let them print it. But I mean, when it's thousands of people, that would take so long. So we tried it out, and it was like the first one I did was like 30 shirts, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like all these people were so stoked about it. And then it kept growing and growing, and we started adding more holidays on, and then our average was probably 1,500 to 2,000 on a Saturday.
Wow.
And that was with two printers going, just manually printing them. And then the biggest one we did was when Mandalorian came out, and we did Baby Yoda, and that was in December, and we did over 3,000
In one day?
2 hour. Yeah, it was 2,000. It was a 2 hour wait the entire day. There was a line wrapped around the
crazy.
block for 8 hours.
How do you market that
And
though? Like how do you get the word out that you're having a free print day?
It's just so we put a calendar out at the beginning of the year of all the dates, and then we do an event page on Facebook and then Instagram. So we send out to I think our retail list is up to about 8,000 people, and then just Instagram will I don't even think I boost them anymore. So we just we pretty much just all word of mouth and do an event page, and
Right.
the news will come and do a story. We used to do press releases for some, but it was I mean, it's a lot of work. Like the Baby Yoda one, it was myself and one of my old printers, and we printed for 8 hours straight. We were averaging like 200 shirts an hour on the manual, just cranking out shirts as fast as we could, and it was just never ending.
Do you feel like so this was like what percentage of this was marketing for Rad and versus just hey this is fun, like giving back to our community type of thing? Like how in your head anyway, what was your motivation to do that and keep doing it? Every, like you said, put out this calendar and do it every month. What did you benefit from it?
I think it was really, like I say, we're a community print shop. We're a print shop for the community. We give a lot of money back, but I think that was the big thing is like not everyone in Rockford or whatever city can afford a $27 t-shirt. I was like, but they probably have one in their drawer at home blank, and they can get it printed for free and still be a part of this like cool movement, having this cool shirt, being at school, get to show off their cool free print day shirt they got at Rad. So originally it was all about affordability. I thought, in the back of my head, I was like, oh, this is cool marketing. It's just, being a cool shop and giving back a little bit. And then they did start to become good sales days too, so people were in the shop, and then we'd have blanks for $10, and then they were buying, just other Rad shirts. So they do turn out to be good sales days, but the whole idea of it was all affordability. And then it just became this cool thing where it was like a marketing beast, right? Like everyone's like, man, I remember driving by Rad and seeing that line down the block for, all day. So it kind of came, and that's now everyone still thinks that. So even now when it's slower, they're like, oh, I thought there'd be a line when I got here. And so it's like this, I don't know, like little urban legend now of like, oh, I have to wait in line for 2 hours to get a t-shirt at Rad. So yeah, I think the more percentage of it was just affordability, but I do like the idea of it was just like families came on, 4th of July is always fun. So the family will come and get 6 shirts, and they'll post a photo on Instagram of them wearing the shirts. So then they, boost
It's just more
boost our
eyeballs.
marketing.
It's more people in your store seeing what you have.
And it's fun, right? Like kids get to see a shirt printed,
Right.
like a lot of people are like, oh, that looks really easy. And I'm like, well, it's easy. And till you have to print a couple thousand.
Well, and there's a
Right.
real cost to that, because like you said, you paid somebody, a team
Mm-hmm.
to be there, and you had the lights on, you used power to do it, you used ink to do it, and all that stuff. And so there's a real cost to that. So it's nice that anyway that while people were there, that you had good sales day to offset some of that expense.
And we do have one one paid day, so 815 day. So we made 815 crazy, obviously, in the city, and now there's an 815 day on August 15th. So you bring in a blank T-shirt and you have to pay $8.15 to get it printed. So we have like one day where it helps kind of recoup some expenses too, and that's usually our biggest sales day of the year. That one single day. I mean, it used to be. So we would, have, I don't know, we would do, I don't even remember the numbers on those now. I mean, 1,500 prints. And then they would buy blanks too from us, and then we'd have limited edition, 815 shirts. And so I think it's good, but I definitely see it's fizzling out a little bit, as far as growth, but it's really like still doing 600 prints, and we do like 200 pre-orders. So it's still worth it. It's still like decent revenue and still a fun thing. And we've scaled it down a lot, so I don't need my full staff here. We only have one press going and one person catching and one person at register, so we can still do 600-700 shirts with 4 people.
Right.
First I had usually 8 people or 9 people in here previous when we were doing 3,000, because we had to have 2 people operating press, 2 people catching, 2 people on
That's
register.
a lot of shirts manually. Yeah.
Yeah, it was it was a lot. I mean, even doing 600 during a day is a good chunk of shirts to print.
If you were to do that again, if you were to have the same kind of numbers of people lined up at the door, would you try to do it on the auto, or would you still do it manually for the charm?
Probably manually. I think it would get too confusing on the auto, and I don't want to hurt any kids. It's weird. We never had kids run through our print shop until we got the auto. And now it's just like that's our biggest fear, right? Is like hitting a kid in the head with a pallet. So, cause we don't have, most kids are right underneath the safety
It's
bar.
head height.
Yeah. It's like perfect.
Yeah, it's
head
like
height.
perfect crush your skull as it spins around.
Yeah, so that's been one of our really big issues with trying to figure that out. I don't know if it would work very well. I think it would get really confusing if we were trying to run it on the auto. Because right now it's just we have a good system for each person. So they bring each stack in and we print it and have like a way we print it and put it on the dryer so that it doesn't get lost. But yeah, so they've been good. But yeah, definitely every year is harder to like, okay, what's the design this year?
Yeah.
How many 4th of July prints can we figure out that are still cool? That's,
I've always had
fireworks
that
can we put on
problem.
a shirt?
There's a lot of things like one example is like we do a ton of live prints at like these swim championship things at like Watkins Glen or whatever, and we might do like 4 of them a year, I feel like, and we've done them for years. And it's like the first couple of years was easy because we were like, okay, cool, let's make a swim design. And it's like, all right, let's make another swim design. And then 4 years in, you're like, dude, I've like exhausted my brain resources of like, how can I make a new swim design? Like, I literally don't know what to make. Like, because every time they want it, they're like, oh, we want water and like a person like swimming in the water. And it's like, I don't know what to do. And then we start recycling them. We're like, all right, well, we didn't use this design at this event, but we used it at this one. Let's like just change the text. And then eventually you start getting people coming to the table. They're like, oh, well, I have that one from that other championship. And you're like, fuck, like someone found us out. And it's just like,
yeah, that's the same with retail too. For us, it's like, how many Rockford shirts do you make? Like how many 815?
well, that's why I
shirts
was
can you have in your
curious, is because
closet?
it's like that you have to at some point like completely run out or start like kind of ripping someone else off, being like, I don't know, I literally don't have the brain capacity to like think of a new design.
And that's the challenge right now, because there's so many cool artists and cool brands out there. It's like, and we're very outdoor themed lately, or trying to, because I'm trying to push that, just our whole ethos of 1% for the planet, sustainability. It just fits my lifestyle,
Right.
and I'm trying to, it's easier for me to sell it since I'm so passionate about it. But then I'm like, man, everybody's making outdoor shirts now. It's like, how do I compete with that? And then also, how do I not rip everybody off?
Right.
Because I'm very like, that's been one of our really good things that I do is I scour the internet before I do a design, and I want to make sure that I don't rip anybody off, or if it's something similar, like if it's something like, so Jupe Mode and I, like, we go back and forth on stuff, and I'll see him post something like, oh dude, that's super cool, is it okay if I use like that similar idea but change it? And if he says no, I won't do it, and if he says yeah, it's cool, then I'll do it. But like, I don't want to just like do it
Right.
and piss somebody off, because I get it, like, it sucks, like I get ripped off all the time here, and I get ripped off mostly locally, not even like in the outside of Illinois. It's like people in Rockford are ripping off my designs.
Yeah, well, that was something I was going to ask you. Is I thought I saw, or I had someone tell me that they thought you said something about getting ripped off by like cricket moms.
Oh dude, that's my hot point right now.
Tell me about that.
The cricket revolution.
What do you do?
The cricket revolution. So yeah, so it's been interesting, right? Like I'm blaming everything on COVID. I think that's what everyone does now. But so everyone was at home. Crickets got popular. Everyone got them. Every mom thought that they could make a T-shirt, or whoever. It doesn't have to be women. It can be anybody. But mostly bought crickets. And then they started heat pressing shirts. And, it's cool to do for those like birthday party and novelty stuff. But then I started seeing people running like 100 shirt runs on these heat presses, these like at home cricket stuff. And then they were selling them for more than we sell in our store. Like, they were selling these Gildan cricket shirts for more than like my, designs that we're selling in Rad. And I'm like, man, this is really bad. And then I just start seeing Rockford shirts and Peach shirts and all the stuff that we do in a 5-block radius of us, like in the city market where we sell shirts. And I'm just seeing all these things, and I'm like, I'm not trademarking, and I'm not saying you can't do it. It's just like, just have some tact and some quality.
Right.
And it just kept getting worse and worse. And now, I mean, there's bigger sites out there that are, DIY is such a huge thing. Like, there's big companies pushing how to do DIY now. It's all like at home vinyl stuff.
Anybody with a heat press could DTF now at this point. I mean, you can, which is even better than vinyl, or even better than a Cricut,
Correct.
Honestly, because you can order 1,000 of these sheets. It looks almost like screen printing, and you just heat press and it's over with, and they've got it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a threat. I feel like we've probably lost some business to that sort of stuff, but we're just so focused on other things that it's not really, especially since COVID, we kind of shifted our focus on our customer, and it hasn't really affected us, nor could it ever. DTF, vinyl, or direct to, what's it called? DTG. I don't think it's ever going to like mess with our customer. Really, it's going to be tough.
I don't think so.
I think it's just
because I'm like, and I think since I'm like 50-50, so since I'm 50% of my own retail and 50% of custom, like, I know it's never going to compete with doing shirts for businesses or breweries or, like people that have value, but it is affecting my retail line, because then there's a lot of these people selling shirts,
I guess,
that are retail
but
ready.
I mean, your shirts feel good, like you said, you're water based.
Most people don't know. Yeah, but most people don't know, right? Like, I think the buzzwords in the last 2 years is very women owned and ethnically owned, and I'm for all those, and I love helping them, but that's been a big, like, I hate to say like a greenwashed kind of feel, but those are big focus points that everyone are on. So they're more focused on supporting a woman or ethically owned business instead of the quality, which is, I think there just needs to be education on the two of like, there's value, but then there's actually value of like, okay, I'm gonna wear this shirt 3 times and the vinyl's gonna peel off because it was cheap.
The other part of it is too is that, like, realistically, if you're just a random consumer and you want a cool shirt and it says what you like on it or what the design looks good, like, does that person actually know the difference between all the different types of printing? Like, you think that fucking dude, you think Chad knows that it's water-based printing or plastisol printing or fucking vinyl? Like, they have no idea. They're just like, oh, that's got fucking knives on it, I think it's sweet. Like, that's all they care about, and they buy the shirt. Like,
and I think that's, and I'm
sorry, Chad. Sorry about that.
So I guess,
not our Chad, a totally different Chad.
Sorry, another the Chad. And I think so. I get heated about this a little bit in my version of heated, which is this. I think it's all just education. Like, I think if a lot of these people knew the education or what the effects are on the environment of using this like one-off shirt that you're going to wear once and it's going to go in your drawer and you're never gonna wear it again because you're gonna be like, this is a cool saying or it has the cool knives on it, but then it falls apart or whatever it may be. And I want to help educate those I guess they're not really printers, they're heat pressers.
Pressers. Let's call them pressers.
Try to educate people on how to create a sustainable business because most of them are gonna be around a year or two maybe, or maybe just a hobby, and that's great too. But they are affecting a lot of actual professionals, businesses. The good thing though, I will say, is most people will buy one of those and be like, oh yeah, I bought one of those, but it's not as comfortable or as amazing as your shirts, so we probably won't buy any of those shirts again.
Well, the other thing that sucks too is like if you're known as the Rockford guy, the one who makes the Rockford designs, what if people see those shirts and think they're yours and they're like, wow, these are garbage, like I don't want to go there now.
That does happen. Or they'll bring them in the store and see if they can exchange them.
What?
They got it as a gift, and I was like, so we actually stopped printing our inside tags. We used to screen print all of our tags inside, and I stopped because one, it was a pain in the ass for our volume, and two, I wanted to be very transparent. I wanted people to know exactly what shirts we were selling.
Right. Well, you wanted to show most of it was on an all made, right?
Yeah, an all made, or even anything. If we use a comfort color, everything. It's just like we want to be transparent instead of saying, hey, we use all sustainable shirts, or we use all USA made shirts, or whatever it may be. I was like, or we could just be really transparent and say that we're eco-conscious and we use as good of shirts as we can, but not all the time.
Right.
Because sometimes, like the idea or the cut or the color or the design just doesn't fit on an all-made shirt or, US blanks or something USA made. And sometimes I have to do a different brand. Or I have to fit that trend. Comfort colors is the hot trend right now. And at least in our area, everyone wants that look, that fit. So we use those occasionally, and I'm not stoked about it, but that's just something we add in our toolbox. But
and
we
definitely don't want to retag a comfort color, so that's a gigantic pain in the ass.
No, yeah, trying to cut those tags out. And we recently added so we're trying to get as transparent as possible. So we have a full transparency, sustainability page on our website, and it lists all the factories used, links to their sustainability and their warehouse information, so people can see at least an idea of where we print on.
Right.
But I would say 90% of our stuff is all made,
right,
in the shop. It would be nice if we had more colors, but we're getting there.
Right. But long story short, there's really nothing you can do. You just kind of hope it goes away, or you need to do more education on locally and say, this is what separates us from those people.
Yeah, I think it's I'm I'm a firm believer that I've been in the business long enough now where it's a roller coaster, right? Like there's some good years and there's some bad years, and I figure out the next thing, and a lot of these are just jumping in quick and kind of riding our coattails a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with holding and waiting, but I think it's all education. I think that's the garment industry in general, and screen printing, right? It's like some of our customers just don't know. They just say like, I need this on this shirt, like on a shirt, but they don't know if what they want, Plastisol or water-based or HSA or DTF, or like they don't know what they want. They just want it on a shirt, and sometimes they don't care.
Right.
And I think educational wise for us is like going over the process of like what's best for the environment. What's best for value of how many times do you want impressions on this shirt? Like how many times do you want your customer to see it? Or if you're using this for marketing, how many eyeballs do you want on that shirt? If you do it on a good shirt, there's going to be a lot more eyeballs on it because people are actually going to wear it out. Versus if you use our big thing lately is we're running into everyone wants a $5 printed t-shirt. Some of these big companies, and I'm just like, that's really hard to do. Like a $5 printed t-shirt is going to be a t-shirt that no one's going to want to wear.
Right.
They're going to wear it around their house to paint their house or mow their lawn or something. They're not actually going to wear it out to the market or to a restaurant for people to see.
Well, that's been like our biggest selling point for a lot of these, bigger companies. They do the same thing. They look at their budget and they're like, okay, well, we just want a shirt. Like, I don't care, whatever's cheapest is usually what they say. They're like, I just want it cheaper.
Yep.
And then I'm like, okay, well, think about this real quick. Like, what is your end goal? Like, what is it that you would love to happen with the shirts that you get? And they're like, well, I'd like for, the students or whatever it's for to just wear these all the time and feel prideful about like wearing the shirt with a school logo on it. I'm like, okay, cool. That's cool. But like, if you print on this super cheap, shitty shirt, they're going to wear it once and then it's going to be a belly shirt and it's going to end up in the back of their drawer. And it's going to be exactly like you said. It's going to be the shirt they wear when they paint their house. Cause they're like, I don't give a fuck about this shirt. Like if it gets paint on it, like whatever. Or you spend 80 cents more or $1 more or whatever it is. and get a shirt that could be their favorite shirt that they wear all the time. And then when their kid gets old enough that they can fit into that shirt, it's a vintage shirt that they wear all over again. So it's like, do you want to pay per impression of it actually being worn and out in the wild? Or do you want to pay $6 for a shirt that's worn once? Or do you want to pay $7 for a shirt that's worn 150 times?
Right.
So
yeah, and I think that's something we're actually working on, some marketing verbiage and kind of it's like sell sheets to start sending out and explaining that, and because we want people to wear the shirts as long as possible. And so even our retail shirts, we have 2 programs we're doing right now. So if a seam comes out, you can bring it back and we'll fix it for free, and we cover the cost in that with a local tailor. Just because before it was just like you bring in, a seam falls out on the side and you just give them a new one. And you're like, but then what happens to the old one? It sits in a bin and then maybe it gets used as a test shirt. And I'm like, why don't we just fix it? Like, why don't we just resew it? So we started doing that, and it's been slow legs kind of on that. And then we have a trade-in program. So you can bring any rad t-shirt retail, you can bring it in. We give you a $5 credit on it, and then we resell it as a used
like a vintage shirt. That's awesome. That's a sweet idea.
Yeah. And it's mostly just been a rack of all my old shirts.
These are all shirts worn by me.
Yeah, they're all mediums, and because I was just trying to get the rack full,
right?
And I have tons and tons of shirts. But yeah, it was like a lot of people like it because then customers can get this like super OG shirt,
right? It's all like
that they've never seen before.
Yeah, it's like it's a rare one.
Yeah, and it's like broken and nice and pilled and nice,
really smelly in the armpit area.
Yeah, real smelly. So we don't take every shirt; it has to be in pretty good quality, but that's been kind of a fun thing. Some customers, the whole idea for that was kids shirts. It was like kids grow so fast, and I was like, oh, we could have a kid program. And actually, we haven't really had too many kid shirts traded in yet. It's mostly been adults. But people love it. It's just kind of a cool give back, and then we end up making money on it twice,
right?
Because we're giving a $5 credit on it, and then we sell it for, I think, $10 or $15. And they already paid $20 or whatever for it.
When I was
depending on what year.
When I was in college, I worked at this place called Pickles Records and Tapes, and I don't even know if it's around anymore. I hope so. But this was back when you could go and sell your CDs, and so I would be a buyer. You would have a list, what everything's worth. Most stuff was worth like $2, but we would buy CDs for $2 and then put them back out for 10. And you got to recycle the music. I think it's really great. So it's sort of similar to that, and it's a nice program. I have a question. Oh, go ahead, Evan.
I was going to say, I've always wanted to do that. There's my favorite store in the city for me is called Sound Go Round, and it's basically like used records, used movies, same kind of thing, just like vintage stuff, cool stuff. And you sit in the parking lot and you see all these like moms with their kids come in all the time with like a box full of like old Nintendos and like, Xbox 360s and stuff. I always want to stop them before they go in and be like, I'll give you $100 for everything in that box. Because I know as soon as they take it in there, they're going to offer them like $30. And then they're going to be like, all right, I'll take it. And that, whatever. It's like, I'll give you $100 and I actually want that 360 or like whatever. Like instead of going in and buying it.
Cool games. Yeah.
Right. Like I want what's in there. I don't,
Yeah, the markup on those things are pretty crazy in those used stores.
Yeah.
Especially the video games and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
What's your question?
Oh, yeah, I have a question because this happened on Friday. So on Friday, our internet went down, not just here at the shop, but like there was an outage. We have Charter, and there was an outage in, I don't know how far it went, but there was an outage here. How can you guys function? How well can you guys function without internet? And
we die.
Because honestly, we almost all died. Like it was, okay.
We play the dinosaur game.
I mean, sure, you can run production for the most part, right? Unless you're like it does present problems because we at our production at the quality control, we have iPads and we proof things. We're in Monday, we pull up digital proofs and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden we can't Wi-Fi in and do that, right? So it's sort of, we have to skip that process and do something else. And so our phones are via our voice over IP, right? So our phones are all through Charter, our internet. So we can't do email. We can't invoice anything. I mean, we literally we fucking stopped functioning basically. And I forgot how crippling, how dependent we are just on internet and not having backup. So what would you guys do? And I wonder what my options are, next time something like that happens.
So yeah, that's actually been one of the top things on my list lately, because we used to use Square as our POS and it worked great, but then it didn't sync with our Shopify website. You had to have this middle software that talked to both of them to get your inventory correct, and it was a hot mess. So we're like, let's just switch to Shopify for everything. So we got Shopify. It's okay. Square had a offline mode, so you could run transactions, you could swipe credit cards. It captured the number, but it wouldn't run it till it got internet again. So as long as the card didn't get declined, you'd be fine. And that worked great. So like if the internet goes, because our internet goes out quite a bit actually, not for a long time, but it'll go out usually on Fridays, like peak days. But so with Shopify, we can't do anything. You can't run a cash sale, you can't run a credit card sale, you can't do anything. So that's been one of our big things. So we sometimes just like, well, you can wait or blah, blah, blah. So I actually just ordered the PayPal POS to have as a backup, because then I can at least run transactions.
Like
like credit card
we
sales.
had the idea of, because you can go 5G, right? We tried. So we, on our phones, we're like, okay, I guess
I was going to say, can't you just use your hotspot?
So yeah, but how?
We
go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, we actually just looked into that too. We have Verizon, they have their internet, and I was like, oh cool, let's try it. It was $60 a month. I think I pay like $500 a month for Comcast up here for business, and it's stupid. It's like 150 meg, whatever. So I was like, let's get a backup. It was like $60 a month to have a Verizon, their internet that was cellular. So I was like, well, cellular never goes out, really. But in my building, it only got like 8 meg. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to run anything. Like it might run an iPad, but then I have my iPad, our main one has the LTE in it or whatever, the 5G. So I can run that, for events and whatnot. But I was like, it'd be cool to have a backup internet here, like DSL or something, that you just sit around. It's on a Wi-Fi router, and if the internet goes out, you just switch your Wi-Fi and you're good
DSL,
to go.
that's over the phone lines, something.
Phone lines, yeah. Yeah, so and then if you have, Rockford's getting fiber soon, so that'd be interesting to see. But I think you have to, unfortunately, business that's why you should probably have cable and like dial-up,
just for
like
backup.
a DSL or something. Yeah, I mean, because that is the thing, right? Is like, but then how much can, like, if you have a smaller service, so if you have a 8 or 10 meg Verizon service, can you run your cloud-based software on it?
Yeah, I mean, we have
you can't.
12 people. It's at least on, like using the internet. How is it going to work? It's going to work like,
yeah, but I mean, like
slow.
if you just had your mock-ups on a system, or like for us, it's on like Google Drive. It's like I could just use hotspot on my phone real quick or just use my phone and go to Google Drive and be like, oh, that's the mock-up. It's approved. Go ahead and keep printing.
Yeah, you just won't be able to invoice or do.
No, but production could keep going.
Yeah, I think that would be, because it's like, do you, old school, when I was an IT guy, you'd have everything backed up and you'd have your cloud stuff and then you'd have a backup server on a, zip drive or whatever. But that's just not super convenient anymore.
Right.
And I think that's, as long as you have Dropbox or Google Drive, and, as long as the Amazon servers don't go out, you're fine.
Oh, I
if
think
Amazon
that was
goes down, we're all going down anyway. Because
that was one of the things too, is I think something wasn't, I don't know. We made this sign. We almost died, like Dylan said. But to survive, we closed earlier. We made this sign. I got to go grab it. It's still on our front door. I'm going to grab this sign. Hold on.
It's just like we made the decision. I mean, we've always done it this way, but like where we save all the artwork, where we save a lot of stuff is like Google Drive. And it's like the argument that I have with some of these other places, like, I don't want to say like Printavo or whatever, but it's like, what if Printavo goes away or any other company goes away? And there's like, okay, well, that could happen. But if Google goes away, there's a fucking problem. Like,
yeah, if Google or Dropbox or any of those things go away, then
the world has got nuked
screwed.
And we're all fucked anyway. And who cares about the internet at that point?
Right. But yeah, I think that's a big thing. And I know a lot of people are like, you should have backups and offsite backups. And what if the cloud dies? And I don't know. But then you have to have another person that just takes care of backing up your Google Drive or your. I mean, that stuff's not.
But that's
so
the other thing too,
tedious.
is you copy stuff onto like actual drives that you can keep, and then how many times do those drives go bad? I used to have so many
Right.
drives with artwork on them, and now you plug them in and they won't show up.
Yeah, but
They
you have
don't anything.
redundancy.
Yeah.
So like ours has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's I don't know how many terabytes, a lot of terabytes. And then there's 2, they're all, you can pull the drives out. You know what I mean? There's one big
Yeah,
box.
you have a RAID. You have a RAID.
Yeah,
setup,
exactly.
yeah.
So if one of the drives goes
Yeah.
bad, there's a redundant drive. But
So most servers, have 3 to 5 drives, and then there's redundancy or mirrored. So if one dies, you always have more. But then that's the thing is then you're making sure you have to back up to them, and there's all those.
and some
extra
of those
steps.
guys are like the design room is Wi-Fi'd. They're not, it's not hardwired in. And so they're backing
Oh,
up.
I hardwired every computer here.
We need it's far.
It's-
We need to do that. But here's a sign we made. It's super high tech with a Sharpie.
Internet is out, and so are we.
So are we.
Perfect.
So we just went.
That is tricky though. Yeah. I mean, if your internet goes out,
Mm.
it's like most people can't function anymore. I mean, everything is cloud based. We're all on subscriptions that are cloud based now. And that's awesome, to use technology that way where it's like, oh, I can have anything at my fingertips wherever I
Right.
go until I can't.
We were literally just having this conversation. I was talking to like an older couple at a picnic or something like a week ago, because we were talking about how this winter we had our power go out. Like our whole area, the power went out for like a week or like a week and a half or whatever it was. And all these people had, like, some people had generators and they were okay. And then some people just were like, well, I didn't have heat or I didn't have this or whatever, because they were so reliant on electric or their technology or whatever. Or they're like, well, I couldn't do this or that. And it's like, people are like, oh, well, we just had old shit, like easy stuff. Like I had a wood stove, or I boiled water with the wood stove, or I had a pilot light and stuff. And it's like, some people get so reliant on the technology all the time that like they can't go back. Like they don't know what to do.
Right.
They don't have the structure to be like, oh, I can just do this. And it's like with the credit card thing. You're like, oh, I could do the credit card thing. But then we were talking about, remember when I used to work at the grocery store, when something like that happened, we had that old like ka-chunk credit card thing
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
the slider thing. It's like we could still take credit cards with that. But it's like, how many people nowadays have no idea that even exists?
Yeah, but we couldn't
I don't even know
even
if it's-
invoice unless we did it on our phones. And so that's sort of what I'm thinking is that, like you said, there needs to be a hotspot, or I like the idea of just paying for DSL, the alternative of having a phone, I guess, over the phone line. I don't know how much that is a month. Even if it's $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year.
I think it's worth it. to
Yeah,
have.
then you can. I mean, how much did we lose for shutting down? I know the few people came in, and they're like, "Hey, I want to place my order." We couldn't look up, like shirts on SNS if they were in stock. We couldn't invoice unless we just resorted to our phones, which were all acting really slow because we all had like a bar or 2 bars on our phones
Yeah.
for whatever reason. And so, I think that this made me think that we need a backup, because we were lucky in that it happened just all afternoon instead of like all day or all week or something like that. Who knows? I think they were.
Could you just write their information down and like get
We
back to them
did.
when the internet
We
comes
did,
back?
but I mean, who's to say when that doesn't always, maybe they went down the street and just placed the order somewhere else. I don't know. You don't know. People, if it's a regular customer, they're not going to
Yeah.
do that or whatever. But I mean, it's just,
I mean, it's probably good to even put in place a procedure on that of your staff. Have what happens if the internet goes
Lord
out?
of the
How do we
Flies.
still function? Yeah, because really, you think about it, it's like you have these people and they're like, don't like a young, so you have a younger crew maybe or whatever, and your CSR person only knows the internet, and then they're like, I don't know what to do. I
Right.
don't know what to do. But at least they have like, hey, we have some printout work orders that we can fill out invoices on, and whatever, I don't know, whatever it may be. But that's something I don't think we think about as far as having a procedure for what if the internet goes out, what if the power goes out, what do we do? So I guess it's kind of like the fire drill scenario of like, what happens if there's a fire? Where do we all
we
meet?
do have on part of our quality control certification, because you said what happens if the power goes out. So when the power goes out, the dryer belts, if you don't move the dryer belts, they'll melt. And so we actually, one of the things on the list of the certification is you have to know how to pull the handle out and crank the belt.
Oh,
Dude, I'm so ready to have this prepper conversation if you guys want to, because I've been dying to have these conversations with people. Like,
Let's have it.
let's do it. Let's get out our bug out bags. Let's talk about rations. Let's
I
talk
got
about
one.
dry foods. I do too. I'm very ready.
Well,
lots of stuff.
when it becomes when currency doesn't matter, it's going to be batteries, and so you got to get a lot of batteries.
Or
Gold.
ammo. Could be ammo. Gold. Ammo. T-shirts. Maybe it's T-shirts. I have a ton of those.
Canned goods.
I'm so rich right
That'd
now
be so
in
great
T-shirts.
if it were T-shirts.
I do have this cool, I think BioLite makes it. I have this little wood burning stove that you can plug your USB cable and charge your phone with the fire. I have
a solar, a little, it's like this big, that has a USB to charge your phone. So you just if our phones, the phones are all down, but at least I'll be able to charge my phone.
I used to be way more into it,
photos,
but now I think I have everything I want, and every so often I go back and look at like the prepper stuff where I'm like, I don't have that yet, or I want that, and I see these things, I'm like I remember when I first got a life straw, it was like a big thing where everyone was like, oh, this new thing where you can get a life straw now, and I was like, fuck yeah, I have a life straw. And now I see these ones where you can like you get this it looks like a thermos and it's got like mirrors on it, and you can like boil water with the sun, and I was like, god damn it, I need to have that. And
so this is my only issue with being a prepper is food and first aid supplies expire. So you have to always be constantly looking at all your dates to make sure you don't have expired stuff. So like hardcore preppers are restocking all these things and keeping up
like
with
every
them.
10 years.
I mean, some first aid stuff though expires pretty fast. And I mean, you don't really use a lot of that, right? You have a first aid kit in your house, and like, how often do you use it? Or you have one in your shop, like maybe some Band-Aids.
And the best part too is usually a
them?
prepper is like more of like a hardened individual, and there are people that probably don't use Band-Aids anyway. They're just like, put some duct tape on it, or fucking close it with bite it.
Duct tape.
The problem with preppers too is if you can't defend what you've prepped, you're dead in like an hour anyway. I mean, they're going to come and take it from you.
I think the art of prepping is you just have to be good at offense and taking other people's prepped stuff.
Yeah, you just have to be the bigger guy.
You have to have the bigger weapons. Be smarter. It's pretty much all in the U.S. comes down to guns.
Yes.
Whoever has the biggest gun wins.
Let's do it.
But we don't prep. I have some prepping stuff, but not to the extent maybe you do. Sounds like
I'm ready.
You're ready? How's your guys' shops flowing this third quarter?
Hey, there's a good topic. It's bipped a little bit, I think, up there in New York.
You got the bip?
I got the bippage. I was telling Andy in the beginning, it was just like it's still good. Like we're still like really profitable, and like stuff is good, and I make like everything's fine. It's just as far as like scheduling wise, I can't tell if we're just like super efficient now because I put all these things in place to make us better, or if like it's actually just slow all around right now. Because you would think right now it's like, okay, well, I know it slows down around 4th of July, but it's like, when is it picking back up to be like, because I feel like, I don't know, maybe a week from now last year, we were like 4 weeks out. And it's like right now I'm like a week out.
I think it's probably a combo though, right? It's like, I think even with all of our stuff here, is like you get more efficient, and then you're like, man, I knew last year was crazy. And I was like, why is it so slow today? And it's like, oh yeah, we were like super efficient.
Right.
And maybe we don't need as many people because we got it so dialed in, we can do it with less people.
Right. And then you go less
or
people and then you get busy again. And you're like, fuck.
For sure. Yeah. And that's the hard part. And then I don't know about you guys, but our payroll is like stupid now. It's like double what it was last year, and our sales don't reflect that.
Right.
It seems like we're really busy, but it's like, if you look at the P&L, you're like, it's like, okay. Like the thing is, it's fine. It's fine.
That's what I'm saying. I'm looking at the bank accounts and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, we're good. Like everything's fine. But like I look at the schedule and I'm having meetings with like people in the shop, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do on like Friday, because like right now it's light as shit. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
So the first half is over. The second half of the year started a few days ago, and the fourth is such a weird week anyway, in the way it fell. That's what we were talking about earlier, is the 4th fell on a Monday, so you almost have to throw this whole last week out because so many people were on vacay. But the first half for us, we were up exactly 22% over 21, which is pretty cool because it's 2022.
Wow.
And so I think that, you know what, it didn't feel like it. That's what's so weird is it felt very flat. Like with somebody, I actually mentioned this to somebody recently because I hadn't looked. I'm like, oh no, I think we're flat. I think it's going to be flat. And here we are up 22%. And so it's got to be like you that we're more efficient because we are more efficient. And so that's good. I think that there's a lot of concern for not just the print industry, but for everyone, about a coming recession. All you hear about it is a coming recession. And so I don't even watch the news anymore about that shit because, who's going to be right? I don't know. But, are people still putting out big equipment purchases? I'd be curious to know, like at this point at M&R, Rock, or whoever, like, are people investing in presses like they were a year ago today? Because a year ago today, it was like pedal to the metal. Holy shit, we can't keep up. That's how it felt anyway.
Right. Exactly.
And now it doesn't feel like that necessarily, but I don't know, man. Is it risky to go out and order? Because you were just saying you're going to get a new space with more square footage and order a different dryer and these kind of things. Should it be more? Are you like, is your lease about to run out? Are you month to month? Where are you at in your lease right now?
I've been month to month for like 5 years.
Okay. Well then, so yeah, I mean, you're actually in a really good spot, regarding committing to some sort of long-term lease, because obviously if you're going to get that other building, most landlords won't go for, 3 years. Next time I'm going to really push for that. I think that I have a negotiating advantage in that I have the whole building right here. And so I think that next time around, I'm not going to do a 5 year. I'm going to do much shorter. And, because of COVID or things like that, we were shut down, actually shut down for a while. And so it's a huge risk. And are you like, what are your thoughts on that? Getting ready to potentially, expand and buy equipment?
It is scary. Actually, one of my buddies just called me today, and so he's a client, but also a good friend, and we chat business a lot. And he was driving by the building that I was talking about that I'm looking at, and he was just like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "I just wanted to like say this out in the open." He's like, "If it's not like a sure deal and everything fits perfectly, I wouldn't do it." He's like, with, the way things are going right now in the world, he's like, you probably shouldn't want to like take on more debt. And I was like, totally, man. I was like, I totally get that. And it's been in the back of my head, right? It's like, you start thinking about like, okay, sales are okay. They're fine. They're not record breaking. I see things picking back up, but do I spend $1.5 million right now? In the climate of the talk about recession, stock market's crashing. But if all the stars align and it's like a no-brainer, I think it all works out. But I'm definitely not trying to force it. But there are some, weirdnesses with my space too, of like my landlord could sell the building at any time and I could either get my rent doubled or be out. So do I have a plan B in place? Because like if I get a 30-day notice, what do I do? Like I can move my retail and run that out of a pop-up place, and I could probably get a warehouse space and set up production, bare bones for a hot minute. Because really we're not doing crazy high volume. So I could get a weird space and, slam out 1,000 impressions a day and be fine. But do I want to deal with all that stress, or do I just want to get a spot that I feel safe in? So yeah, I've definitely been going back and forth on that. And then the big kicker is the like, do I get new equipment or do we just roll with what we have, which will be fine. I ran 2 manuals for 11 years.
Right.
I was like, I can make a lot work with not a lot. Hey, little spider.
Is that a wolf spider by chance?
Eat it.
It's white. I don't know. That was maybe.
That's an alien. That's an alien.
It's totally. It had 50 eyeballs. So yeah, I think those questions keep coming up, but all I do know is that I can run on not a lot. Like I can run with manual. Like, I mean, we could do 1,000 impressions a day with 2 manuals.
Yeah.
Like,
well, talk to us about that. You were one of the people that I've known that kind of went for a really long time. Like you said, like 11 years just on a manual. Why finally go auto?
So good question. Mostly came to labor. So it came to it's easier, I think, to train someone to run an auto than a manual. Um, it's like if you have at least someone to set up the press and get it regged and just like an operator that's loading and unloading. I think it's easier to train someone on that than an actual art of like squeegee pressure and angle and like troubleshooting on a manual. And wear and tear. Like I just had guys all the time. It's like, oh, my hands hurt, or my back hurts, or like, I think I need to take a couple days off, because I did 300 shirts today and I'm tired now. And it's like, well, I mean, it's different. It's a different hurt on an auto.
Yeah.
It's just, it's different worlds. So I started looking at that, and then I also started thinking about big picture of like, what if I have to scale back? Like, what if it's just me? What if it's two people? If I have an auto, I can do 3-4 people's work, with not as much labor. So I kind of started thinking about that, and then Ryan Moore talked to me. He's like, well, you should just get a Rock Fit. And so I ended up getting that. And yeah, it's been good. Like, I don't think it's like increased our production. I think it's more efficiency now and quality control. But I mean, really, we're printing water-based, so it sucks regardless if it's manual or auto. And it sucks more on an auto because we don't have enough flashes. So that's challenging. But I don't know. I think it was a good move. I think the fit was a good starter auto to kind of just like see if we liked it. And I mean, it still runs pretty good. I mean, you can do 400 shirts an hour on it. And I'm not trying to do anything over that. Like if we did 300 shirts an hour, I'd be stoked. Like I'd be like, that's cool, we're good. Like I'm not trying to do super fast, high volume, high stress.
What makes you say that it didn't increase production?
Well, I think it's just a people training issue right now. I would say because we're still getting it dialed in. And this the obviously the dryer bottleneck, because like we don't have, so we have a lot of little bottlenecks here.
A big deal. Like you can only print as fast as your dryer.
Yeah. And then really I look at it too is like if we don't have someone catching, and that's been a weird position to try to get all the time, is if we're printing like discharge and you don't have a catcher, I mean, things can go south really quick, especially with like a pinhole or anything like that, because you don't really see it on press till it comes through the dryer. And if those are just cranking out at 400 an hour, I mean, that's a lot of shirts that can get damaged.
Right.
So we've been running slower until we get that dialed in. But I think it's just more, and really the only thing I ever wanted auto for was for efficiency and just quality control. Like I just wanted high-end quality on every shirt. But also I do like the little, off reg occasionally, because it's, the more art side of like our retail. So retail shirts have a little more wiggle room. Custom stuff is perfect. But that's the fun part of like, oh, colors are a little bit off from the last run to this run. The Pantone's a smidge off. But I think that's the cool part of the art deli, is having, a little bit more art marks on them.
You just mentioned something that reminded me. I got a text from Pete at Shirt Shrub, and he asked, he said they were having a debate there, and what you just said about not having a catcher and stuff reminded me of this. So what are your guys' thoughts on this? Ready? So he says, we have a debate here on whether it's faster to run 2 ops on one press and 1 op on the other press, no catcher until the job is done. So I guess that both presses are just dumping into a box. Or scenario number 2, 2 ops on one press, and then when finished with the job, you jump over to the second press and run 2 ops on that, and that third person is always catching. What would you guys do? So you have 3 people, I guess, in 2 presses.
Well, I would
always have a catcher.
Who is folding the shirts after they're done? Is it the printers, or is it somebody else?
So like so that you just have 3 people. That's it, right? So they were wondering, is it better to run, both
I know what you
presses?
mean. I'm just saying, like, say there's 2 guys on an auto and they print 100 shirts, and they don't have anyone at the end of the dryer. When that job's done, do those 2 guys grab everything out of the bin and lay them out right then and there?
Yeah, lay them out and then maybe print
It's
the back.
always harder. It always takes longer to lay shirts out if they're in a pile than if you're taking them off the end of the dryer.
Exactly.
Also, you're going to have wrinkly shirts.
You're going to have wrinkly ass shirts. So what's your answer, Jarrod?
And if you have an issue, someone needs to be catching those shirts, because that was always a debate here was like, well, what if I come in 2 hours early and just jam out a bunch of shirts? And I'm like, well, then it's going to take twice as long for the person to take all the shirts out of the bin,
sort it out.
organize them.
Well, the problem
count
with
them,
that
and
is
then,
that they
what
have
if-
a wad of shirts, and every time they pull a shirt out, they have to look at the tag to see what
Yep.
size it is.
And then what if there's issues? You know, then you're
Mm.
like, oh, I was short 2 shirts, or oh, there's like pinholes.
It's another
on
quality
50 of these
control
shirts.
person. Yeah.
I said my answer
Yeah.
was this, and I said I don't even know which one would be that faster because in your head you're thinking, well, running 2 presses, obviously that's really really good, but then you have all that time down at trying to sort it out at the bottom. So I said I'd probably go with number 2 because I'm not
We've
sure
done
how
both.
faster it would be. And then I said, and the shirts would be wrinkled AF, and so I don't like.
Mhm.
I would definitely always have somebody catching shirts.
Well, I can tell you, we've done both. Like for years, we didn't have. I didn't want to hire someone for the money to have them at the end of the dryer because we just were slower at setups, or we didn't have as many jobs.
And they
it
literally
was
would
like-
be standing there a half.
They would be
hour
literally
sometimes.
standing there doing nothing. So what we did
Mhm.
for the early years was we had 2 people on the auto printing, or one person running the auto. I had a girl come in after school at like 2:30. So all the jobs they printed all morning, what they would do is they would fill the bin, grab the shirts out of the bin, throw them in a box, just like on a pile,
Oh.
and then slide them into another room. And then the girl, when she came in at 2:30, would just lay out all those shirts and fold them and put them back in the box. So she would walk into being like,
brutal.
okay, there's like 10 boxes here that are just like piled with shirts. And she would just sit there and lay them all out.
Yeah, and then if you're doing it front and back, somebody's got to actually then.
So
pull them
what they
out.
would do
Yeah.
then is they would just let them all fall in the bin. The 2 guys would lay them all out, like just in a pile, not looking at sizes, and then throw them back on the cart and print the bags.
Oh, it's so much work.
Right, but we don't do
Yeah.
that anymore. So I can tell you full well
Right.
that having someone at the end of the dryer is way fucking faster.
Yeah, way faster. I mean, I think it's just the quality control side of it is like,
True.
if no one's checking, I mean, stuff happens, right? Like screens can break
Mhm.
down, tape can leak. Like there's a lot of things that can happen.
Yeah.
And unless you're like so dialed in, you're 100%. Your printers are like, no, dude, we got
We
this.
have it all
Like,
the
these are
time where
all
the person at the end of the dryer walks over to the press and was like, hey, there's a spot here. Or, hey, the ink's running
Yeah,
out here.
totally.
Or whatever.
Well, 2 sets of eyes
That
are.
usually happens if I walk
Yeah,
down.
2 sets of eyes are always better than 1. So I mean,
Yeah, I think it's I mean, I guess if you're a small shop and you're one person on a manual in a garage, then that's just how it is.
Right.
But I mean, if you're doing any sort of volume, I mean, if you're doing 1,000 shirts a day, that's so much work. Like just to let them go in a bin and like, okay, I'm gonna sort out 4 jobs now.
Also, too, there's a lot of
Yeah.
trouble that can come with that. There's like ghosting on shirts if you're doing any kind of 50-50 or poly of like the shirt's just being
Or
too
dye
hot.
migration.
And dye migration
Right, right,
issues.
yeah.
Or your ink's too hot and it's going to stick to itself if you're using plastisol.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a hot pile of shirts with all plastisol, I mean, they can stick together for sure.
yeah, like I don't even think you're concerned when, like you said, how you used to it, people are going to stand around for a half hour. I don't even think that would happen anymore because, like you just said, you're so much more efficient now that there aren't many times like we have. So right now we have a 10 color, 12 color, and a 14 color. Obviously, on the 14 color, we do most of our larger color count setups, and so she has the most time in between, press runs, but. All of the quality control people, they're always going and stacking for the, carting up shirts for the next job. So it's not like they're just, we're waiting around for nothing. She'll have like she'll go and if there's a long setup, she'll go and, cart up 3 or 4 jobs, the next 3 or 4 jobs. And so, I mean, I think that a lot of people in their head, they hate that idea of, oh shit, I'm going to have somebody standing around because they're going to be waiting, for everybody to run a press. But the dollars you're spending at the end of the dryer you're going to get that back tenfold, just like what Jarrod said, because even if they just catch one mistake, a week even. So 100%, I love the idea.
It's a risky gamble to try it that way. But I mean, we all do it if someone's out
Oh, right.
sick and they're like, well, we just need to run them. But I'm always a big advocate of someone
well, I've
catching all
never,
the jobs.
we would never run 2 people on press and let them dump in a dryer. We would just run a single press operator and have somebody would go to the end of the dryer. We would never ever
Yeah.
just let it fall.
Or grab someone
And
from
I
the
think
office.
that's a nice thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, we do.
right.
So that's kind of the nice thing with our retail being so close is like if they're slow on the retail side,
Mm-hmm.
they'll come catch shirts. Because it's like retail's not busy 24/7 while we're open. And if there's no projects or stocking to do, it's just like, you're just standing around like, hey, you can catch some shirts.
That's just it. It's
Or,
cross training,
you know.
and it's so good too because, like, let's say you do grab somebody from customer service. Well, they haven't been in a dryer for a while, and they forget, and they have appreciation then, like a new appreciation for how hard that is. That's a tough job, at the end of a dryer.
It is.
Um,
Yeah, it's hot.
yeah.
It's
Are
It
you
goes
still heat
fast.
pressing everything? Yeah.
Us? No. That was a weird. I don't even know how that happened. I was never given that order
What do you mean heat pressing
to
thing?
anybody.
Everything.
So I don't even know who came in. Someone came in and because we were trying to cure the shirts faster because we were doing warp drive on our old dryer, and somehow one of my old press operators decided to start heat pressing every shirt, and then it was like fully curing them. And
Right. Instead of
I don't know, but I
running
was
through,
like-
through the dryer twice, you were running them through till they were dry,
yeah.
basically, but then heat pressing the rest of the way.
Yeah, and I was like, "Hey guys, this is cool while we're slow, but like if we got like a 500 piece or up order coming through here, you're gonna heat press all those?" So we nixed that, and yeah, we don't do that anymore. I mean, we'll heat press like we don't do a ton of plastic.
Well, you got a bigger dryer
if
now.
it's super thick. Yeah. So it's usually don't have issues with that. I mean, I don't know. We've been doing more transfers lately just because we only have 4-color presses. So, a lot of rainbow stuff the last month. So we were just getting super transfers, and those seem to be pretty good. Trying that world out. But we try. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of heat press. It's a necessary evil, but I'd rather just print them. But also going back to the loading and unloading, it's nice. I guess it's nice starting with the fit because it's only single load unload. So we don't ever have to have 2 operators. I think they did do a hybrid 2 operator one for like a certain job. And I don't know how that
Well, you
worked
could
out,
always
but-
get something like a Stampinator and do it last on your auto, and then every shirt would be heat pressed before it goes to the
Yeah,
dryer.
we were looking into that too. We just don't have, we're out of power. We only have a 220 3-phase right now, and it's we get a lot of light flicker lately.
Nice.
So we can't have both quartz flashes and the AC and infrared flash going at the same time, or bad things will happen.
Nice.
So it's been nice with no AC because then we can run a lot of flashes.
It's a good compromise.
It's yeah, it's a really strange thing. So I mean, that's some of the push too behind trying to get the new building is just to be able to have adequate power and whatever we need.
Right.
To get a really good setup.
Yeah. Well, one
Dialed
other
in.
thing I really wanted to touch on with you was the sustainability or, being more eco and stuff like that. What are you doing or what have you seen from other shops, what they're doing versus what you're doing and the actual impact it's making? Because I feel like some people are like, oh, I'd love to go eco or I'd love to do this that's more green. I know you're doing like the 1% thing, but like, what are you seeing that's actually like, holy shit, this is making a difference?
So that's actually a good question. I think lately, like originally we were promoting eco-friendly, and a lot of people say that with their inks, like we're eco-friendly, we're water-based. And then I started being like, that's not true.
Yeah.
Like especially if you're using discharge, it's like the most not eco-friendly thing to do. And so we started saying we're eco-conscious. So we're trying to be as good we're trying to do the best for the planet as we can, but with knowing that not everything's 100%. So then, first we got All Made going, and then we decided to join 1% for the planet. We've been doing that for 2.5 years. So we donate 1% of all of our gross sales to a local environmental nonprofit. One of them was a forest reserve that I'm on the board of, Severson Dells, and we did that for the first 1.5 years. And then currently we're donating to, it's called Angelic Organics. It's a organic farm. They do like a CSA, tons of learning, kids camps. It's like super cool. It's like this magical place in the middle of nowhere. And so we started doing that, and it was like trying to push other businesses to put their money where their mouth is and donate to the planet. We still are the only place in Rockford that does this. And then we started looking at other green certifications. A lot of them are interesting to get, so we're still on that journey, and I need a bigger team to help me with some of that. But I think seeing other shops and some of the practices is like, there's a lot of chemicals, there's a lot of things out there that you can do to be green. I think it's all just awareness. It's like educating your client on what you use. I haven't seen a ton of like ahas yet, other than, trying to use the best chemicals you can for cleanup, trying to use the least amount of tape as possible, which is tricky.
Well, that's what I was going to say. There's little
being
things that you could do that would make a big difference. Like, I feel like a lot of it is just waste. Like, use this instead of this, because then you're not throwing a ton of this away. Or maybe polybag. To me, it seems like one of the biggest things is like polybags. It's like all these places always get everything polybagged, and it's like that's just like a one-time use plastic. That's just
So we switched all of our retail mailer polybags to better packaging, so they're all made of biodegradable.
Yeah.
They're called dirt
We
bags.
did that too.
So we've pretty much switched everything. So anything shipping other than boxes, we're still trying to find a good eco source of boxes. But tapes, biodegradable, bags, shipping labels, our plastic hang tags that hold our price tags on our shirts, they're all biodegradable. So we pretty much are just trying to find everything that's stupid proof, as I say, is like, you don't have to be like, can I recycle this?
Right. Like, even if you throw it in the trash, it's biodegradable.
Yeah. I've been looking at doing our hang tags with seed paper. So if you throw it in, it has like wildflower seeds in it. So I'm just trying to figure out how do we, without increasing our cost a lot, because really it's like most of the stuff's not super expensive now because it's pretty obtainable. Like 5 years ago, everything was so expensive because they're like, what, a biodegradable bag? It's like $5 a piece.
Right.
And I think now it's a lot more affordable, and it's an easy move. Instead
We just,
of,
like I said, we just did it
bags.
like for all the fulfillment stuff. There are these black biodegradable bags. It says right on it, like, I'm biodegradable. So
yeah, I think it's the same one.
Yeah, so those have been really nice, and they work good. They look good too. So,
but then you have to go down the rabbit hole on that. Is like, if you don't use biodegradable labels on it, then it's pretty much still trash. I mean, it biodegrades around it, but those are expensive. Those are like $40 a roll. First, you can get like 10 rolls for $40.
Right.
So switching that stuff out helped a lot, and then just recycled bags and inks are. I think the inks are the debatable one because it's the is plastisol versus water based for HSA.
I've heard from people that it's like
for the environment.
Realistically, they're about the same, right? Or is water based slightly better?
Yeah, I think it's really how you. I think it's really how you operate your shop, because it's like if you're using plastisol, you can run it efficiently and less waste because nothing's drying up. You can reuse it more. Water based has a shelf life, use additives in it.
Right, and there's people that mix
involved.
too much and they're dumping it into like a big bin, and then they have to dump the bin, and it's just like
that's one of our big issues is like it's still trying to get dialed in of like how many grams do you mix for the job, like what's the sweet spot on that. And I think that's the thing is, so we've been trying to find an ink recycling company that will take all of our inks. So I actually don't throw any away. I have like,
I've seen it in the basement.
5 gallon.
Yeah, you've got a shitload.
Well, I have a warehouse full too.
Isn't the hardest thing predicting ink, how much ink you're going to use?
Well, they have calculators, but
here's the thing. Like, I just ordered. We have a big run next week, and I ordered one of the colors I needed to order. And I was in my head thinking, and it's 14, the design is 14 inches, and there's a pretty decent coverage. And, you would think to yourself, oh, well, I'm going to get, 2,000 prints per gallon or something like that. You have something in your head, you're guessing. But we can make it here if we run out, so that's not the end of the world. But you don't want to order too much, because if you order 3, let's say you order 5 like a 5 of it, and then you only use 2, then you have these 3 gallons sitting there for like 100,000 years.
Was it you or was it Gorilla Joe in our group was posting that he did a job and he ordered like a ton of 5s of like green or something, and he's like, anybody want some green? Because I have like a shitload left.
Well,
but I think it's like International Coatings might have it, or there might be some other ones where they have a calculator where it's like, how tall is it, how wide is it, what's the coverage, and you plug all that in and say the quantity, and it's like you need, like 3.5 gallons or something.
Yeah, but so it's underbased, or is it variable halftone underbased? Because it is.
I know, but it gets you closer than just being like, I'll order fucking 5 5s and I.
What mesh count are you using? How much ink's going to go through? I think I'm pretty sure Eric at Night Owls they have some secret calculator that they've come up with that helps with to get pretty exact on how much.
Well, maybe he will share that at the water base camp here in a couple of weeks at Made Labs in Fort Worth. Dylan, what do you think?
Maybe
I'll get it out of him. I'm going to his shop beforehand, so I'll look for the formula.
Yeah, his shop's fun. I was trying to sneak around and take photos on my spy camera, but
which, by the way, you were supposed to stop by here on your way home.
I know. My trip. Well, so
He did.
long
He
story
drove by
short,
like
I was
this.
It was on the weekend. I had my 4Runner was full of guns and ammo, so I figured I was trying to beeline home quick. That's the only reason I went to Texas was unfortunately one of my uncle passed away, and his stock of stuff was gifted to my sister and I, so I went down to grab
Texas
those.
Well, you know,
gifts.
Missouri is gun friendly. You'll be fine.
I know, it just was
It's not like
interesting
something you
load
want
in
to park at Walmart or something.
Yeah. You could just tell the squat in the back of my 4Runner was. I was like, oh, there's a lot of weight in here. No, I do. I still want to make a trip. I was actually just talking about the other day is I need to make a trip to both of you guys' shops, and I need to do some road trips. I need to get the creative juices flowing in. It's always fun to do, I think, shop tours and
It's
just
the most fun.
kind of geek out a little bit and absorb and kind of see, what's happening. So I've been I was just at Made Lab a little bit ago. Made Lab's cool. It's like crazy stuff for.
Yeah, I more
Especially darker
wanted an
is
excuse to go to Texas.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go hang out with Eric, and I know Ryan's going, so I'm gonna hang out with him, and then Seth at Printed Threads. We were gonna hang out and hoping to
dope.
walk
Yeah.
around there and see some Fort Worth stuff. So
Yeah, downtown, like right around their shop's really cool. They have a cool downtown, and yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make that. I was trying to plan ahead and be like, okay, if this building stuff's happening, I don't really want to like be out of town. So I'm Xing my travel for the next couple of months because I have like a 90-day window to try to make things happen.
and you don't know when
So-
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I'll have a little better idea probably in the next like 2 weeks. But then it's the whole thing is like if I do travel to Texas, like I'd like to bring some team with me too. But then it's like who's doing production, and
Right.
we're not at the level yet where we have a lot of backups. So if someone's gone, that means everything's down. But I think the class is going to be great. I think that'll be a good informational class.
Hopefully.
Eric's a good dude, knows all his stuff.
Well,
I love his no tape setup.
Oh,
using
those oversized
2536s.
right.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Because I mean, you think about how much tape we waste as screen printers. Like that's like, well, unless you go no tape, I mean, there's no alternative, right? It's just like tape. Like you have to use tape.
The only debate with that is that you need to buy a shitload of 2536s, but you also are using a lot more emulsion. So
sure.
it's like,
which is
which
more
actually
expensive and
works
which
out
waste.
to be better.
I mean, if they made biodegradable tape, then that'd be pretty solid.
And then it would break down
But
all
then
the
if you're
time.
doing, yeah, it's a long run and it starts breaking down mid-run. Yeah, tapes are, I think, the biggest waste we have in the shop for sure. And especially, like you're using way more. We're using way more tape on autos versus manuals, just because of more pressure, and so you're taping up a lot more on those. But yeah, we're still dialing in. We're still a little green on the auto, no pun intended. But I think it's getting there. I think it was a good investment. I think it's a good tool to have. For sure.
It's always there if you need it too. If you do have a bigger run and you want to not kill your employees, it's nice.
Yeah,
to have.
I mean the goal always is have, one press is always printing like our boutique stuff, and one's always printing custom.
Right.
Or depending, on the run size, because we don't. I mean, we try to restock weekly for the retail, so we're not doing like 100 of each design every week. We tried that for a while, and then that got tricky because then you're like really forecasting and trying to gamble on what's going to sell. And so we just started doing like 30 shirts of each design, depending on what we need to restock weekly.
Right.
And then we have a good amount of blank back stock, so we can
You have a
print on
lot of
demand
blank
pretty
back
quick
stock.
too. If we have, yeah, it's a stupid amount of blank back stock. At least it's all organized and it's in.
It
a
does look
spreadsheet.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so
do you have any questions for us or shop hacks?
Ooh, shop hacks. Questions for you guys. Yeah, I mean, as you start seeing like, I think a lot of people think we're bigger than what we are in our shop, but we have higher margins, so we don't have to work as hard. What's been, I guess, for you guys, easier for growth? Like when do you add people on? When do you take people off? Because I think we just got into a predicament where everyone's saying we were short staffed. We hired a bunch of people, and then now we're like, oh, we have all these people. What do we do with all these people?
Right.
Because it's it takes longer to train people, and then that slows down production because then you're trying to train them to do stuff. And do you guys have like a certain point where you hire people, or do you feel like sometimes you're overstaffed?
Andy,
Dylan.
you want me to do it?
I think we both do it. You go first, though.
Well, we do it differently. So, like, I, for the longest time, have had the mentality of less people. Like, I think that I want to give more responsibility to more people, have less people. That way, I'm not concerned when it's slower, or I don't just have a bunch of people standing around. But last year or the year before was kind of a kick in the nuts for me because we were just so slammed that we were like 4 to 5 weeks out. And then I was like, you know what? This isn't going to happen again next year. I'm going to buy another auto for overflow, and I'm going to double down on employees. So like each press got like another person. I hired like another person to help out in the shop and like all this stuff. And that's why I think this year it feels slow, is because I've got 3 extra hands getting more stuff done, and we're a lot more efficient. But we also, around that same time, went through and redid all of our pricing and, made things like we had the same pricing chart for a long time. And I probably should have like gradually increased it, but I didn't. And I got to the point where I was like, oh shit, like we're way not making what we should be making. Let's adjust all the pricing. So now that I've adjusted all the pricing, I've actually had meetings with my accountant where they're just like, hey, like you're making a good amount of money. You need to find a place to spend it because you're going to owe Uncle Sam a lot if you don't. So now I'm talking to them of like, okay, let's add like all these employee benefits. Let's give everyone good raises and all this other stuff. So I feel like not only did we grow staff, but we're also like really profitable to where I'm trying to give a lot more money to the staff. So I don't know. It's weird. Like I tried holding off. I think less is more still. Like I think it's good to have less staff and just give them more responsibility. Cause I feel like I can't remember what that law or rule is or whatever, where it's like, if you only have realistically like 3 hours worth of work in an 8-hour day, you'll stretch that 3 hours to fit an 8-hour day. Or I can tell everyone, hey, you've got this task to do. They can actually handle those tasks and get it done in an 8-hour day. That's saving me a couple people. And that's not me trying to be cheap. That's just me trying to maximize people's like abilities. So I don't know. That's kind of where I stand on it, but I know Andy's a little different.
Yeah, I think we've tried to do the less is more, because it's always like I can pay people more if I have less.
Right. Well,
like
that was my mentality.
We can go stronger. Benefits and raises and bonuses are a lot easier when there's a smaller pool. But then I think a lot of our pushback has always been like, well, I can't keep up with all of that, so we need more people.
Well, when they tell me they can't keep up, that's when I hire another person. But like realistically, like I said, like in the office, we might have it to where, they come in and do their inbox. Realistically, if they buckled down and sat there and did their inbox and did all their invoices and everything else, they might be done by 1 o'clock. But what they do is they're like, okay, I know I've got till 5. They're just like, walk around with coffee and this and this and this. Right. And they stretch it for 8 hours. So that's what I'm saying is like, do they really need another staff person in the office, or do they just need to adjust their amount that they get done?
How do you measure that though?
By stress.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if they're coming to me all the time and they're like, I'm stressed out, I can't get this stuff done, blah, blah, blah. That's when I'm like, okay, I need to add another person. Because realistically, I've done those jobs. I know what it's like. And I would much rather be busy. Like I would much rather have a full crazy inbox where I'm going through it all day, because my day flies by. But if I'm sitting there and I have 2 things in my inbox and it's fucking noon, I'm like, wow, this today sucks. Because like I have nothing to do and I have nothing to keep me going. I have to sit at my desk for another 5 hours. So generally when I start getting pushback from stress is when I know they actually need another person.
I think you measure it by, overtime. Like, are you guys, are you missing deadlines? Are you there past 5? Are you coming in on weekends? This sort of stuff. I mean, in the past,
well, that's stress.
If that was the case, let's say we just couldn't get everything done. Well, then you do, I guess, 1 or 2 things, or both. You have to automate some area of your shop, or hire somebody, or both of those things. And I think that it's so tricky, isn't it? Because what feels busy now, or maybe next month or something, is that real? Will that still be busy 3 months from then, or do you just get some sort of surge? And so, somebody comes to you and like, oh my gosh, I can't keep up. This is terrible. Has it only been a few weeks or a month and then it slows down again?
Yeah. I've had that conversation too.
Yeah. Like and so it's for me anyway, I think we know the number of people that work well here. And what's kind of crazy, and I had this conversation pretty recently with somebody here at the shop, a few people actually, is that the morale and like the culture and everything is so good right now. I'm almost, hesitant to change it. Like all of a sudden, can you imagine if we have, so let's say there's 26 people and you add 3 or 4 people or 5 people, and a couple of those are assholes or whatever, and then, I mean, it gets, I think it's always tough to change up. And especially to have too many. I think it's always better to have too few, because I'd rather just...
They'll rally together.
I'd almost rather just say, look, instead of being 3 weeks out, we're 4 weeks out, or whatever it is. And get the job done with everybody here, because it's so funny. The same person that'll tell you, we're too busy and I can't keep up. The moment you hire another person to help them out, and
they'll bitch and complain about them.
Yeah, they're that, or you say, look, you're going to go home early today because, all the work's done. They're like, whoa, no, I need my 40 hours, and so I don't get it a lot. People come to me and telling me that they're overworked. I see it, I sense it, because you can read the room as a leader, as a business owner, you sort of know. I always know I notice it when somebody's out, let's say, like, because it happened in the front this last week. There's so much PTO going on right now because I encourage vacation before it gets busy here in a few weeks in August. And so there's been a couple of times when there's just been one person like answering the phones, helping with pickup and customers, and so it's just like, oh my gosh, I know what that feeling is like. It's so tough to just do all of those different things. And so I went to them. I know this is like, this is just temporary. I helped out. Like I was doing those sort of things too, even though I suck at it. I was just trying to help them because I know how rough that is. And I'll do that as an owner. I'll go to different spots, and when somebody's out or gone, or when it's just super, super busy, I'll go support that area. But I know that if it's going on too long, people don't like that. People are cool. Certain people are cool with overtime for a little bit. But if overtime is happening, like mandatory overtime is happening, at week after week after week, something, they're going to break, they're going to leave, and so that's no good too. So it's really, really tough, isn't it? Like, that's a great question, because how do you know when you're at the right amount of people, on your team? And I don't know. I think just years, I don't know. I don't think there's a formula. It's just years of doing this, years and years of doing this. I know what feels right. It's so tough though.
And I think lately the stress thing is different, right? Everyone carries different loads, or can carry different loads. So that's hard, because obviously owners, we can carry a lot more stress, a lot more baggage, and, and still, and try to, and we still can function and operate and do those things. But some people can get the smallest little rock on their shoulder and it puts them out. And then mental health, I think, is very intense the last few years. There's a lot of things going on in the world, a lot of mental issues that people just don't know how to overcome. But yeah, we've been trying to figure that out too, of how to scale. And the lucky thing is we don't really have mandatory overtime ever. I try to keep it that way, and we don't overpromise anything, because I want that work-life balance. So most everyone just works 40 hours a week. And that's been pretty much all the time. I think maybe every once in a while we're just like, hey, we got to work, maybe a couple hours extra every day this week just to get caught up. Or if you want to come in on Saturday, that's cool. But yeah, that's been one of our biggest challenges lately, is how do you have a formula for it? So we do have some analytics that we keep track of how many shirts. We have sort of goals for some of that, of setups and goals and impressions, emails, and but we're not a high volume shop too, so it's always tricky to say, like, well, are we busy right now, or is it just you're just stressed? Like, you're stressed because you had to do an extra thing.
That today. Mental health thing you mentioned, I've heard that before too. And what my opinion is on that, and I understand everybody has different things going on outside of this shop, but a hard day's work is really good for your mental health. Like, it actually does like it's
That
very,
sounds like such a fucking like
I'm fucking
dick
serious,
boss
dude.
thing. I know, but I'm just saying if
I don't
an
care.
employee came into your
No.
office and they're like, my mental state, and you're like, you know what's really good for mental health? A long ass day's worth of work, and like push them out the door and shut the door behind them.
We need to get you a banner made that your team walks in the back the front door and they see that sign every day.
Well, the thing is like obviously you have to be sensitive about that situation, but it's the truth. Like it actually is the truth. You know, we're designed. Human beings are designed to do stuff and to be busy and to work and to do that sort of stuff. And if you, I mean, I think what's important is that you also have to be doing something that you like. And so that's maybe the kicker is that if they're here and they're complaining about mental health, like, oh, coming to work today mentally is just too tough for me, then maybe this isn't the right shop,
Yeah,
or
they
maybe
hate their
this isn't
job.
the right thing for you. You
Right.
know what I mean? Because honestly, at the end of the day, after you've worked and you have accomplished something and you're getting, rewarded for it,
I think it's
for it,
accomplishing something is what's good for them.
yeah. Okay. Well,
Well, yeah, I mean, everyone wants the sense of doing something good that day. Like, oh, I did something that impacted somebody. A sense of completion for the day. And I think it's different to everyone. It's the same. What's success to you, or what's your future look like? What drives you? What motivates you? I mean, that's different for so many people. Some is a high five, some's money, some's a sandwich, some's a beer after work.
for all of those things.
Yeah, or just don't talk to me all day, and that's what I like.
Put my headphones in, ignore everybody.
Yeah. It's just been a weird thing, but yeah, and it's all like, to your point, Andy, too, is like it's always scary adding anyone on. When everyone says, "Hey, we need more people," and I'm like, man, but the team's doing so good right now. If I add one person on, it can totally wreck it. Like it can totally, make the whole shop toxic.
Yeah, which is funny too, because like I literally just had an interview with a new girl who she accepted and said she wants to start, but it's always funny doing an interview because I don't like really care about like a resume or like whatever. It's probably like 85 to 90% that person's personality that I care about over everything else. And this girl came in, and the one thing she did have good going for her was that she's like really skilled in Photoshop and Illustrator. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like that's perfect to have you in the office doing that. But talking to her, I was like, I'm not trying to like down talk this job, but like people are assholes. I was like, customers are dickheads. Like it's not all sunshine and rainbows. People aren't going to give you their order and they're just going to love everything. I was like, people are going to be dickheads once in a while. And like, they're going to nitpick stuff and they're whatever. I was like, it's not like that all the time, but like, you're going to have that. Like, do you have thick enough skin to like deal with that? And she was like, oh yeah, that's fine. I used to be like professional lifeguard and I would constantly deal with like angry moms and like all this sort of stuff. I'm like, okay, well, you're kind of there. Like, you're okay. But then I was also like, on top of that, like, we're really crude here and we like talk a lot of shit to each other. I was like, everyone here loves each other, but like our sign of love is to say like, hey, fuckface, can you get this done for me? Or like stuff like that. I was like, are you cool with that? And she was just like, fuck yeah, I am, or something. And I was like, all right, like you can start next week. And it was just like,
that's the challenge with having the retail team and the production team, because the print shop guys talk the way they want to talk, and then the retail team's a little more sensitive sometimes. So that's been an interesting dynamic, and that's, I think, just in the world in general, just like just totally different. It's like having a carpenter, working with a bank teller. Like they're just different worlds, different backgrounds.
It's weird to like say, but like I feel like it has to be said. You know what I mean? I don't want to be sitting there in like a suit and be like, well, yeah, you're gonna do this and this is perfect and this, and then it's like Zach comes fucking bursting through the door singing like, some horrible graphic song, and it's just like, I was like, it's gonna happen. I was like, I just want you to be I want HR to tell you now, like, there's gonna be a lot of HR issues. Like, you just need to know that that's like,
and I'm HR.
And I'm HR. So like, I'm telling you right now, like, you need to be okay with like 2 live crew playing in the shop because it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's my hybrid model is sometimes amazing and sometimes very, very difficult to run. Cause I'm not in the shop much anymore. Like with what Rad does in the growth now is like, everybody wants to meet with me. So, talking about downtown, talking about collabs, talking about how we can help them sell shirts through our retail, whatever. And so it's been like I keep getting pulled farther away from the actual shop. Like I come in and like do meetings once a week and talk to people, but I'm not like in the daily grind here anymore. I'm like on Zooms and in
I have the
meetings
same
and
problem.
it's so crazy. And then I'm just like, you guys, you have it. Like you guys figured out. I don't even interview new people now. I just have the team leads interview them because they're going to be working with them more than I am. And I'm like, you tell me if you like them, and then if it's like a higher position, then I'll interview them again.
I tried that last time, and I had Sarah interview person for the office, and I kind of just listened in to her doing it, and I was like, I have to do it next time. Because she was just like, and this sucks, and this sucks, and that guy's a dick, and this, and I was just like, all right, like I've given that speech where I just said like HR and all this other stuff, but like I still didn't say like, and doing this sucks, and it's just like, all right, like fucking relax.
You gotta fluff
I was
it up
like,
a little bit.
Why would anyone want to work here if they hear the way that you're doing that?
What's your what are your guys' standard like interview? So let's say somebody contacts you and says, hey, here's my resume and I'm interested in working at Rad. Do you then set up, I know you just said you don't personally interview, but then you set up an interview, and when they get there, is it formal? Like, do they sit down in an office and you have questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or do you just like, what do you do? Because I know what I know what I do, and I was just curious, like, what do you guys do?
So ours has evolved. Definitely, nothing's formal here. I think the last one, my lead printer, we were hiring a print assistant, and I think he interviewed him outside, maybe, like at a park bench, like across the street. Just like
Robin Williams from Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. So it's very laid back. We used to have a bunch of stupid questions we ask, and now it's just like, hey, tell me about yourself. Let's just talk.
That's
I don't care about your resume.
100% of how mine is.
It's because really it's like, I mean, we've all done it. Like I can fluff a resume. I can be like, I know what you want to hear. I know you want me to say I'm a team player. I'm a hard worker.
Quick
I'm going to be here on time. Yeah, I'm going to do all the things you want. Like, but just like, hey, what do you do for fun?
That's also my favorite, to look at someone's resume too, because it's like the motherfucker worked at Subway and they're like sandwich artist. I'm like, first of all,
be like, I'm an artist. I make sandwiches. I'd be a good fit for you. We used to get a lot of people, like looking for experienced screen printers. Like, yeah, I printed in high school, and I was like, how old are you? Like, I'm 40. I was like, oh, so you have lots of experience.
Right, exactly. Yeah. No, I literally
are,
just like have them in, and they walk across the office and come into my office, and then I say something like, have a seat on my casting couch. And then and then I fucking shut the door, and like the door is frosted and like my blinds are shut. And then I'm just like,
and then he turns his camera on.
Right. And then I'm like, this is just for like educational purposes. No, but like, but it's just like, I literally just like, she sat down at the, in the couch, and I was just like, so tell me about yourself. Like, what did you do before this? And she tells me, and then I'm like, okay, cool. Like, she was interested in art, and a lot of questions too are just kind of like, what are your plans? Because she just got out of college, and I was like, well, what are your actual plans? You know what I mean? Because like a lot of kids that just got out of college might be just looking for a job until they get their next job. And I'm like, hey, like, I'm like, hey, do you have plans? Because if she would have told me like, yeah, maybe next year I'd like to go work at blah, 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 I would be like, unfortunately, like, you're a great person, but unfortunately, like, I don't want you to work here because you're not going to be like fully ready and trained and like where I want you to be until that year.
It's a lot of
right. Like, it's
too,
like,
like investing time in training.
Right. Exactly. And it's like, and we're doing that thing with Kevin now. Like, we hired Kevin at Set Sales.
Yeah, I need to do that. He's on my list.
Yeah, like we just had our first meeting, and I just signed the thing to like have him do everything, and it's like, it's an investment to like train all these people to do the things that he's gonna do. And I don't want her in 6 months to be like, oh yeah, well, this is just a stepping stone for me to go work at so and so. And it's like, well, cool. I'm glad
That's why we haven't pulled the trigger with Kevin, because I thought I had someone dialed in. Because I was like, well, I don't want to just train someone and waste the money.
Right. Well, for us though,
other than training me
that's
too.
a good point. And for us with Kevin, it's going to be a program that anyone can be trained in, though, because
same here. Like, he's making all the PDFs and like putting the whole system together, and it's something I'll have.
Yeah,
But,
forever.
like,
Just be nice
Right.
to have a team. Yeah, just be nice to have a team member with you during
exactly.
For sure,
That's the
yeah,
thing is
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
that's here, we're
The-
doing
the
it all
lead.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lead person. The I was gonna say too, how our hiring too works now is, we do mostly all online forms they fill out and goes through. So my virtual assistant, she goes through them all and then puts them in tiers, just based on how their resume looks and what their responses are, and then she gives me the ones that I should interview, which has been pretty spot on actually. She's awesome. She makes my life so much easier.
Nice.
But yeah, the virtual assistant was a shop hack, virtual assistant.
So
Great.
virtual assistant, meaning that there's
Yeah.
you pay monthly for this online. I don't know. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so she is not it's not through an agency or anything. I hired one person. She was an integrator / just hires like EVAs, like executive virtual assistants and virtual assistants. It was pretty expensive. I think it was like $3,500 to do the whole process to get someone hired. But they go through, they talk to me like, hey, what do you guys need help with? What are you looking for? And then makes a job description, puts it out, does the interviews as a skill check, a culture test. And then I only had to hire or interview 2 people. And then then pretty much after that, then they're my employee, or I just have her set up as a contractor. And I don't know how many hours she works a week. She does all
Like,
the
what's your
payroll.
guess on how many hours?
I think she's like 20 to 25
so
hours
she works
a week.
just for you, or she does this for other shops too, or other
I
companies?
think she has she's a stay-at-home mom. I think she has one other person. It's not necessarily for print shops, just for some other business. But I think she was a assistant for like the chancellor of a university for like 10 years or something in North Carolina.
What are some of the things she
South
does for you?
Carolina. She does all payroll. She does a little bit of HR, like time clock HR, or if there's a question on some benefits, something like that, she'll do the legwork on it. She does all my scheduling, which has been the best thing. So if someone emails me, like other than you guys, but if someone emailed me like, hey, I want to do an interview, I would forward it to her and she would set it all up. And then it would just be on my calendar, and I would see like, oh, Sunday at 4 p.m. I have a podcast. And then she would have all the info before of like, hey, this is what you need to be prepared for. Or sometimes before bigger meetings, the day before, hey, do you feel good for tomorrow? Do you get everything you need? She'll reach out for stuff. She'll book flights for me if I need it. Yeah, it's been the best investment.
So as far as running payroll, are they like bonded and, so how do you know for sure that it's accurate and she's not paying like some other ghost account like $1,000 every time? Or
she forwards me the payroll every week, like what got submitted, like through Gusto. She sends me hers, and because she actually does her own payroll.
There it is.
But she sends me, yeah, there we go. She sends me an email with how like her hour sheet and like what got paid. So she sends all the stuff to me. She's, I think it's just the trust of having a legit person versus going through like an agency or an online site. So this one was a little bit more, I think, upscale, and I pay her a decent amount, like a good amount. So I think that helps too. But no, she's been solid. I think she's been over 2 years now for me, and it's been great. It just takes, really the biggest thing is scheduling, and then she'll like put together job descriptions for me, slideshows. Like if I have I run a mastermind group in our chamber here once a month, so she'll get like the agenda. She emails all the people, make sure everyone's like on point to come to it, and then just lets me know who's going to be there. And it's just so nice. It's like so worth it, because it's like that one thing that's hard for me to keep up with my schedule. So it's definitely, as like an owner, it's a huge asset.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So it's really, but it's just the scheduling. Just having my schedule booked out every week. Like I just like wake up and I'm like, oh cool, I have 4 meetings today.
And it's done.
And I didn't even like talk to those people.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't even know. I'm just like, cool, I have to be at this place. Sometimes it gets a little crazy because she's, not in this area. So she doesn't know how long things take. So sometimes I'm like speeding across town to get to another meeting, and I'm like, and then I just let her know. I was like, hey, just let you know, this takes a little longer to get from here to here. So if we could have like a little buffer.
And then you garnish her wage.
Yeah. And then I'm like, no pay for you for 1 week. No, she's been incredible. She's been a huge asset to my mental health, honestly. Like it takes so much stress off me, is dealing with the back and forth of like trying to get 4 people in a meeting together. It's like, hey, what's your schedule like? What's your schedule like? Does this time work for you? and she just does it all for me.
Yeah.
So it's been awesome.
Yeah, I understand that.
Big shop hack. That's a big one.
You ready for some quick takes?
Yeah. What do we got?
Andy?
All right, Jarrod. Vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
To where though?
Vacation to. Good question. I want to go to New Zealand.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I like adventures.
Yeah, me too.
I want to go do adventures. Yeah, vacation for sure.
I know the answer to this question. 2 presses or 10 presses?
2 for sure.
Yeah. I was gonna say you've went 2
Yeah.
manuals for fucking 12 years.
I would say 2. I think that's everyone you talk to, right? Like 2 to 3 is the sweet spot. That most people are like, man, I wish I went back to 2 presses or 3.
Yeah, or like if you have 4,
Like the
you
ones
might
that
as
are-
well just get 10 at that point. Like,
Right.
right, exactly.
Yeah, I think 2 would be the sweet spot for sure for us.
Test the waters or dive in the deep end?
Test the waters. I like to be prepared. I'm like an over preparer, so I need to know what I'm getting into. If you've seen the back of my Forerunner, you would know that I'm a over preparer prepper,
I'm the same way.
and I need to know my situation. I need to know the situation before I jump straight in. I would say 5 years ago, though, I would just dive into the deep end, and then I made a lot of bad business decisions that way without thinking about things first. So I definitely overthink things now and think of all the possibilities before. just
I'm that
diving
guy
in.
too. It's funny you said the back of your Forerunner because the back of my Highlander is the same way. Like I have like my bike rack, I have umbrella, I have a bug out bag, I have a bag with a hatchet and a mask in it. I have like
Like a ski mask.
It's actually an alien mask, and they're not related. They're not meant to be in there together. And we actually went and saw fireworks last week, and Lindsay pulled them out of the car. She's like, "Why are these in here together?" And I was just like, "You never know." But I have like my trunk is full of just like I have my hiking bag. I have like bottles of water. I have like everything in there in case like a certain scenario. And it's like even riding my motorcycle, like I almost always wear a backpack. And it's like, yeah, it would be comfortable to not have a backpack. You know what's in my backpack? Zip ties, tools, like anything I would need if I broke down on the side of the road, like an extra gas can,
An alien mask,
and a hatchet.
duct tape.
Right, exactly. It's like, a little bit of lye
I should
in a
do
bag.
a cribs. Yeah, I should do a cribs version of my Forerunner. It's stupid the stuff I have in there. It's kind of out of control the amount of stuff I have in that thing. But it's prepared for a lot of situations. Right. So my problem too is if I have a situation where if you're in my vehicle, you're like, "Hey man, you got a zip tie?" And then I'm like, "Shit, I don't." So the next time I have like 20 zip ties in it. Yeah. So like if my girlfriend ever says thing like, "Oh, do you have this extra thing?" I'm like, "Oh no, I don't. But I should have an extra jacket in here. I should have extra blankets. I should have all these
I
extra
have like
things."
underwear and a hoodie and an extra pair of shoes, like all that stuff. Yeah.
Do you have a fire
have a lot of that.
extinguisher?
I do. I have a fire extinguisher and a fire extinguisher stick underneath my seat that you can just pull a tab and like
A stick?
You know what the best though is we might
Yeah.
get picked on for like having all that shit, but it always happens where I have something that's needed in a situation, and I'm that guy who has it.
I have two first aid kits and a dog first aid kit in there. Fire starting kits,
Flashlight.
toe straps, tools,
What about
flashlight,
WD-40? Because I just found
WD-40,
some in my car. I
shovel,
didn't know it was there.
blanket, sleeping bag, camera, food, dog food, all the things.
All the things.
Pepper has her own. Pepper has like her own. The back pretty much has a dog bed, water bowl, food bowl. So she just kind of has her own little crib back
So
there.
good.
It's pretty great.
Sweet or unsweet tea?
Ooh, I do like that sweet tea.
All right, well, end it. Shut it off, Andy.
You are losing these days.
I
with
am
the sweet
losing
tea.
the debate. Yeah.
I think it depends on the tea though.
If you made it at home, what would you
Like,
make? Sweet tea or unsweet tea?
I would probably put a little sweet in it. Is this really who's tea? Who just had some? Oh, my girlfriend's mom made some like legit Southern tea or something, and it was like just a hint of sweet, but it wasn't like too much.
Okay.
Actually, I don't even know if it had sweet in it.
She was just so sweet
I don't know.
that it made it sweet.
She was. I do have a sweet tooth though, so I do like sweeter things.
Okay, well, that's the problem. I
In
don't
general.
generally.
Yeah. I love ice cream. if that was a question. I eat ice cream every
And
day.
do you like ice cream?
I do. Thanks
What's your
for
favorite
asking.
ice cream?
Chocolate Oreo. It's a local company, Dairy House. They make chocolate Oreo ice cream, and it's phenomenal.
I like Ben and Jerry's half baked. That's my favorite ice cream.
That's my, if I'm in the grocery store, for sure
Yeah.
what I get. I like them chunks.
Okay, Andy.
All right, what's for Din Din?
Oh, good question. I haven't thought that far, actually. I'm a horrible eater.
You're a prepper. I mean,
eat.
you would think you would have your meal ready to go.
No, I don't prep food. I don't. I like to live on the edge on food, and it depends on the day. It depends on if I worked out or not. I didn't work out today. I just hiked. So, but I should work out because I'm gonna get all the flack from the Rise and Grind gang that I didn't do a morning workout. What is today? Sunday? I might grill out. I think I have a kebab in my
One
fridge
single kebab.
that I got from the cookout. One single. Well, we got 2 burgers and 1 kebab because I was like, well, I really want that kebab, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to eat the burger and the kebab, so we just got 1.
Perfect.
The burger was massive, so
All right.
no kebab.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jarrod, for coming on with us, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's always good to see
It
your
was a
face.
pleasure.
I hope you make it out to
it's
something that
good.
we're going to be at soon.
Are you guys doing ASI Chicago this month?
No.
Didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know either till my Sanmar rep invited me, and someone else did too. But there's a ASI Chicago.
I think there's like a
this
shirt lab or something in Chicago later this month too.
Shirt Lab's happening too. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
going to
me
that. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really looked at the schedule for things lately.
The only thing I know of right now that I'm for sure going to is the water-based camp, and then
Mhm.
Fort Worth ISS, and then
should do
what's
Fort
the Print United in Las Vegas in October?
Oh, there has been talk about that. I haven't. I've never been to that
Yeah,
one.
me neither.
Is it worth? Have you
I've
been,
heard it's
Andy?
really good.
Do you go to any shows, Andy?
I go to a few. Yeah.
You guys doing Long Beach this year?
Yeah, Long Beach for sure. That's a given.
Yeah, Long Beach is an absolute.
Yeah, I didn't go. I skipped last year, but for sure this year, I will be attending. I feel like most of these, like our group of people, we should just not go to a thing and just get a cabin.
We were talking
somewhere
about we
lake
should have a
and hang
camp
out.
out. Just like rent a camp
Yeah.
and be like as many screen printer camp, as many people want to come and just like, wet, hot American summer.
That'd be super fun. That'd be super fun. It would just be all a bunch of dudes in
Yeah.
gross t-shirts. No, there's a good girl gang
Yeah.
now, right?
I think it would be a good
we're
mix.
growing some. Yeah, I think it's starting to become a good balance now.
Just
of
do
male and
fun
female
lake stuff
printers.
and hike stuff and bonfires and
Dude, how fun it would be to have like archery and like legit camp.
that's what I mean. Like have a legit
That'd be
like
so-
week-long
Yeah.
camp at a campsite.
I never got to go to one as a kid. Like go down a slide.
We'll make it a thing
like,
every
do all
year.
the things. I mean, there's a camp in Boundary Waters area. It's an all boys camp.
That's boring.
I went up there a couple winters ago. I think we could probably rent it out though and do whatever we
Okay,
wanted.
that's good.
But it's like legit old school camp, like bunks with screened in porches
Perfect.
and like it's
Let's
like
do it.
it's got a water slide that goes like way down. It's got a wood burning sauna.
By a what is it? A
Yeah.
blob.
Oh, I don't know if they have a blob.
I want to buy a
The
blob
blob,
for
the big
here for
jumpy
this
thing?
lake, and just like be like, hey,
Oh.
come use the blob today if you want.
Yeah, there's a cool Chicago Camp Wakanda or something like that. It's like real bougie but cool. And you can rent it out.
Bougie meaning it
it's
has
like-
internet.
Oh, of course. I mean, you gotta take photos and post
Well,
them.
we would also need internet because everyone would have to check their email.
Yeah, like 50 times.
Yeah, at least.
No, I think that would be a stellar idea. Instead of doing all these like, like I think Bruce was just asking about, what things you want to see at Print Hustlers. I'm just like, yeah, what do you want to see anymore? Like, what's valuable to spend on a 2-day
I answered
class
that
to,
on Facebook, and I think I said, what did I say? I said something about leadership. Yeah, how to be a better leader. How to, I can't remember the other ones, but my last one was how to make a good pasta salad.
I want to see
because that's-
magic.
That's really important.
I think they need to have a one for because
Copperfield.
like Print Hustlers is mostly for David Copperfield would be great. How to make ink disappear. I think having the owners one, but then having like a day one that's just for team members. Like, I think that there's not any of that out there. It's like, how do you send some of your like core team guys? Because I don't know, some of them, it's like bringing them to some of these are, it's just like over their head a little.
And they're
bit.
also
Not
just
in a bad
taking
way,
it
but
as like a free work trip.
For sure. Like, I don't have to pay attention. I'm just going to get slammed the night before and show up. And
Right.
not even
Ride
take
lime
notes or
scooters
bring any
around
value.
town.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, how do you, is there a way to have one so you can invest in your team, but give them some knowledge too? That'd be kind of fun. But I don't know. It's hard for me to get value out of a lot of these anymore. It's like motivating to talk to other print shops, but like most of the speakers now I'm not like, man, I'm so juiced up. I'm like ready to go when I get home.
I think 99% of it is hanging out with friends and getting motivated by talking to them.
I think that's true, except for at Print Hustlers, Bruce does bring a lot of people from outside the industry, So that's a different mix than, like, for example, Long Beach would be. Long Beach is more industry stuff, and there's some keynotes, maybe a couple of them that aren't. But that's what's so cool about Print Hustlers is that it's mainly no screen printers. I mean, maybe I guess last year, like, he had one or maybe two up or something, and then Bell Canvas guy, and then
he had Jack Prince and Liquid, and
then Bell Canvas, but then the rest.
It's a good balance.
Just all these people with different ideas, and I don't know. That's my favorite part.
I will say I've only been buying that salsa.
I was just gonna say the salsa dude was my favorite.
Yeah,
Renfro. Like he was so awesome. Like Renfro, I always just like him in the grocery store. I was like, oh, I need some of that salsa.
Yeah,
that's a good story.
Having that connection is so.
I
cool.
literally got back from that and
that's...
opened the fridge here, and we had salsa in the fridge, and it was Renfro's. I was like, that's perfect. Like I just saw.
I brought so much salsa home because I drove, and all the people that flew were like, "You want some salsa?" I was like, "Yeah."
Hell yeah, I'll have that salsa.
Yeah, so I had a lot of salsa. But no, I appreciate you guys having me on, and appreciate what you guys do for the industry, and it's awesome seeing the growth and
thank you,
the impact that you guys create, and it's fun knowing you guys.
You too. All right, bud. We'll see you later. Enjoy your Sunday.
Cool. Yeah, you guys have a great night.
Later.
Okay, later.